is ESPN on ABC. Brought to you in part by Samsung QLED TV, the official TV of ESPN College Football.
Michigan's Big House, a beautiful scene lit up in prime time on a cold and crisp October evening. Welcome to Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo. And tonight's Big Ten collision between the Wisconsin Badgers and the Michigan Wolverines. And welcome, Chris Fowler, Kirk Herbstreit, Maria Taylor will join us. Always a fun thing to have these two teams knock heads in the Big Ten. Kirk, it's Wisconsin that comes in here with an unbelievable road record, 15-1 in road games under Paul Chryst. They take care of the football, and they really take it away from their opponents at an incredible rate and cash it into touchdowns.
And when you have a team that's experienced, a veteran team, they've been a part of a lot of those games. And I think talking to Paul Chryst and his team, I think it gives them a lot of confidence, even though this is a tough ask to come into Ann Arbor at night and deal with Don Brown's defense. Because of these experiences, I think they believe they can do it.
Badgers are underdogs, but in these kind of games, under Jim Harbaugh, Michigan has most often come up small, 2-8 against top 15 teams. Now, they still control their playoff destiny if they can begin to pay back, Kirk, these teams that beat them last year, starting right here.
Well, it's a big stage, and it's a big opponent, and this is what Jim Harbaugh and the Wolverines want. They want to find out really where they are. And in my opinion, this is a different team than who they were the last time they got on a big stage against Notre Dame in Week 1, because I think they have an identity now on their offense. And that identity starts with Jim Harbaugh, of course, the power running game. How about Karan Higdon the last few weeks, been the Iron Man in this backfield. And when they establish the run, that's where you see Shea Patterson relax with the play action, getting the linebackers out of position. And this big Zach Gentry, the tight end at 6'7", has become one of his favorite targets. Keep an eye on 83 tonight. This is the last phase, in my opinion, of this identity. Sometimes there's breakdowns. Number 2 can give you the mobility, the ability to create and make something happen, as we saw late in that Northwestern game. And I think that's the X factor tonight against a very physical Wisconsin defense that is somewhat depleted in the back end. Keep an eye on Shea Patterson's ability to create and what that secondary does to defend it.
Yeah, one safety, Dakota Dixon, is out injured. Another, Scott Nelson, suspended for the first half because of targeting. Now, can the Badgers running game with a Heisman contender, nation's top running back, Jonathan Taylor, get going against this Wolverines defense?
Good luck. I mean, Don Brown is aggressive a defensive mind as there is. Loves to get penetration. I think Jonathan Taylor will have to be patient tonight. In fact, if I'm Wisconsin, it might be more about Alex Hornibrook, the veteran quarterback who's 24-4 overall. You can see 10-0 on the road. That experience, maybe you go to play action on early downs. Don't wait till third down against Don Brown's defense, because if you do, they love to come after the quarterback.
Going to see which offense can kind of come out of character and be a little bolder. Take those downfield shots, because the plays may be there to be made if they gamble a bit.
Yeah, that and I think these guys are big tonight too. The Wisconsin offensive line, veteran group. They've seen this defense before. They beat them a year ago in Madison. They've got to play one of their best games of the year.
Can the Badgers keep the road mojo going in Ann Arbor, or will Michigan get a much-needed statement victory? Wisconsin and Michigan for the Big House is coming up.
Who's that? That's Pineapple Pirate. He's one of the mascot's friends.
No, he's that guy.
Welcome to the Nissan pregame rush. Nissan, premier partner of the Heisman Trophy.
Welcome to the studio. Kevin Agani alongside Mac Brown and Jonathan Velma. You can call this Survival Saturday or Shocking Saturday. We'll start with the stunner, and that is what happened in Baton Rouge. And how about LSU coming off the loss to Florida? They dominated number 2 Georgia.
Yeah, just much more physical. Outrushed them by 150 yards and won the turnover ratio 3-0.
Oregon in overtime at home against Washington.
Man, gutsy victory by Oregon. Huge plays in overtime to seal that victory. They deserved it.
The Irish surviving at home against Pitt late.
Yeah, Ian Book made a couple of great plays late, but this was won by the Notre Dame defense. They were very physical.
Another shocker. How about Michigan State? Final seconds to beat Penn State in Happy Valley.
Michigan outplayed Penn State this whole time. They deserved that victory as well.
Spartans next on the schedule for them is Michigan. By the way, Ohio State also survived. Who you got tonight?
I got Michigan, too physical.
I have Michigan, too physical as well.
All right, we'll see how Jonathan Taylor handles that physical defense.
Well, if he hears us, then
if he hears us, some Badgers are in trouble, right? We'll see at the half. Enjoy the game.
The Wolverines make their entrance to the big house and leap up and touch that M Club banner as they have for decades. There's only one way in and one way out of the stadium. That's the way the former coach Fielding Yost wanted it, so it would seem like gladiators entering the Roman Coliseum. Badgers and Wolverines coming up on a crisp night here in Big Ten country.
Runway 25 left, clear to land.
We're off to Michigan Stadium.
Yeah, night in front of 110,000. It's going to be something serious.
It feels different at night, doesn't it? It's pretty special.
8 to X. Here we go. Go 20s.
The crowd is going to fuel this defense.
This is going to be a dogfight. That's what you live for. That's what you work for.
Light them up.
Yep, got it.
Skycam, stand by your run over us. We're working, Darren. Take 6 foot left. Animate.
Going live.
Jonathan Taylor is a legit Heisman candidate.
Down he goes. 88 yards.
This game is do or die for both these teams.
5. Here we go.
3, 2, 1.
This is for real, everybody.
And welcome back to this presentation of the Big Ten on ABC. What's already been a shake-up Saturday in college football. Michigan State rallying to beat Penn State. 2 other top 10 teams already fallen, Georgia and Washington. Maria Taylor looks ready for this chilly evening in Ann Arbor, but some Badger guys are going to have to step up. It's an interesting injury report.
Absolutely, Chris. And right now, Dakota Dixon is ruled completely out, as you mentioned earlier in the show. But I saw him trying to gather this secondary and tell them they have to bring their dog into this fight. Fayon Hicks, the redshirt freshman, tells me on the cornerback position, they're going to have to do a very good job pressing as much as they can on wide receivers and communicate well because they're depleted. On the Michigan sideline, though, Rashawn Gary misses just his 2nd game ever in a Michigan uniform. He is ruled out and is not dressed to play tonight, guys.
All right, thanks, Maria. A whole bunch of dudes are banged up and trying to grit their teeth and play through some pain. Wisconsin won the toss, and Kirk, in a sign of confidence, they want the football against this Michigan defense, and they'll get it after a fair catch. So here comes Alex Hornibrook, who is not considered by many fans around the country as elite, but his numbers have been elite. His analytics are excellent.
Yeah, and a guy that's been playing a lot of football, in fact, for 3 years now as a starter. He's been here as a starter. Wasn't a great night for him. It was only his 2nd start of his career, but he's got a lot of tread on the tires. 24-4 as a starter. Really nothing he hasn't seen, and big reason that Paul Chryst in this atmosphere wins the coin toss and elects to take the football.
There's the student section, not quite full because it's fall break, but they are making plenty of noise. And the first handoff goes to Jonathan Taylor, and the man who's averaging 170 yards per game to lead the nation behind that big offensive line you talked about. All these guys rate so highly, especially as run blockers.
And Michael Dieter, 63, kind of the anchor up there, but these guys are all veterans, all been around and know what to expect and win against this defense a year ago. Jonathan Taylor is the guy to keep an eye on, but Kendrick Pryor, A.J. Taylor, Jake Ferguson, they've got to win some one-on-one battles against a defense that's going to play a lot of man coverage.
Taylor got 6, 2nd and 4. Got it again. Stutter step, and a couple of catches, or carries, I should say, have yielded 14 yards.
Impressive.
Against this Michigan defense. They'll miss Gary, but there's so many talented, dynamic pass rushers in that group.
Yeah, up front, you want to keep an eye, especially with Gary down on 15. Chase Winovich, kind of the leader, relentless approach. Hudson Bush, Gill has come on this year, 36. Linebacking crew tonight will be aggressive. See how the matchups, I talked about the Wisconsin receivers and tight ends. These guys play a lot of man-to-man. Leader Hill and also David Long on the other side.
They have come out, Wisconsin, an aggressive approach against this Defense allowing less than 100 yards rushing per game. Third carry for Taylor drags a couple men for 4 more.
You got to really be impressed with this offensive line coming into his first series. And I talked about in the open, Chris, I thought, you know, even though it's a veteran group, maybe just to kind of ease into the game, maybe a few play action passes for Alex Hornibrook to kind of maybe then go back to the running game. But no, they lined up, let Michigan's attacking defense know it's coming, and still a lot of success running here in these first few plays.
It just sound like a Wisconsin offensive line. Dietzen, Dieter, Biadish, Ben Shaw. That time it's Tywan Deal spelling Taylor, and then he's knocked down right at the line of scrimmage.
Michigan got a good push into that backfield. Like Quiddy Pay, 19, actually pushed him back and allowed Devin Gill and Winovich to clean it up. Now you find out here on third down what Don Brown decides to do. Very multiple, known as an aggressive blitzer, man-to-man, but likes sometimes to make you think that, and will sit back and play brackets coverage or play some zone.
Yeah, they're by far the most blitz-happy defense in the Big Ten. Garrett Groshek is the running back in the game. Empty backfield, play clock at 2. Hornibrook delivers quickly out of the pocket, batted in the air, and then caught, but short of a first down. Kendrick Pryor on the carom. Devin Bush got a hand on it, and it's fourth.
He's actually trying to get the ball thrown to A.J. Taylor off to the left. Watch the ball thrown to Forbett in the middle. 10 does a great job of reading the eyes. Devin Bush reading Hornibrook's eyes. But the presence of mind by Pryor to go up there at least gives Wisconsin a completion, but they are short for the first down.
Anthony Lottie to punt to the very dangerous Donovan Peoples-Jones. Who had a touchdown return against Nebraska earlier this season. It's a low goof, not particularly good, and will bounce out of bounds near the 20-yard line. So Shea Patterson, the transfer from Ole Miss, been getting better and better each week. Michigan's first possession coming up. Well, Shea Patterson was born in Toledo, Ohio, not far from Ann Arbor. Grew up a Michigan fan. His dad had season tickets here. He ends up here by way of Ole Miss. I'll tell you the story if you don't know it, but he is now kind of living his boyhood dream. He's getting better and better, adjusting to a very different style of offense than what he operated at Oxford. Kirk.
Yeah, known really as through high school and at Ole Miss, dual guy, a guy that can run his spread offense, and has had to adjust to Pep Hamilton and Jim Harbaugh's scheme here, more of a traditional drop back.
Looking to throw in the first play, delivers far sideline. They use the cushion. That's Nico Collins, the very talented sophomore from Birmingham, and here's the big fellas up front. Cesar Ruiz was his battery mate at IMG Academy, snapping the ball to Patterson in high school.
And they feel that he's probably improved the most from that Notre Dame game to where they are tonight. Grant Higdon, an Iron Man in that backfield the last few weeks. Ben Mason is solid for them. Donovan Peoples-Jones and Nico Collins will get deep, and Zach Gentry at that second level, a great target at 6'7".
On 2nd and 3, Karan Higdon totes the rock. The workhorse senior from Florida, knocked down about 1.5 yards short of the marker. Here's that Badger front seven.
And in this defensive line, they're just going to try to consume blocks to free up the linebackers, Edwards and Conley, to be able to make plays. Van Winkle is their best pass rusher, hopefully healthy. Tweaked an ankle against BYU. This is the question really tonight. A lot of different pieces will be going in and out. Faion Hicks is probably their best cover man, number 20.
But 1.5 yards needed for the first down. Higdon, he gets it. They've had to adjust the offense, or chosen to adjust the offense to make use of Patterson's talent. You don't usually see Michigan in a shotgun, on 3rd and short.
No. It's a combination. I think they are learning kind of on the run with Jim Harbaugh. More if you think about his days in the NFL, his days at Stanford. Think of a pro-style approach, and it's still the basic foundation is still that, but they've also incorporated some of the things that Shea Patterson's done throughout his career when he was at Ole Miss, more of the spread look.
Higdon now motions back in. Ben Mason, the fullback, flanking Patterson. And the Badgers crowd the line. Here's a play-action look. Patterson, an effective scrambler, and he's going to be knocked down for a very short loss. He was flushed at there. Olive Songapolu from the middle came in there.
Yeah, they do a good job. He had Zach Gentry off to his left. It broke free, and I don't think he saw him. And then, Wisconsin dialing up some pressure of their own with Jim Leonard, kind of a safe blitz there with T.J. Edwards. But one thing they want to do tonight with Shea Patterson is corral him. Just keep him in the pocket, not give him any lanes or allow him to get outside and break contain. They did a very good job there, just kind of keeping him simple, keeping it in the pocket and squeezing him.
Only they rushed 3 times. Here he's going to escape this time. Patterson spied and tackled there by Ryan Conley, the fine senior inside linebacker.
Yeah, it's good coverage downfield. Second play in a row. For a defense that had a lot of question marks in the back end. Their starting safety is Scott Nelson. He's out. We mentioned he had a targeting call last week, so he misses the first half. Paul Christ and his defensive coordinator Jim Leonard just kind of juggling between the suspension and some of the injuries. You're going to see 6 or 7 different guys, but I'll tell you, these last 2 plays playing zone, but in great position and taking away the options downfield.
You don't need a pass rush because there are so many inexperienced guys playing in that back end tonight for the Badgers. On 3rd and 6, Patterson delivers complete, and the catch is made for a first down. That's Ronnie Bell.
With that motion, with the motion, they end up in kind of a bunch formation, and it makes it a little bit tough for this Wisconsin defense to figure out who's going to actually get out into the flat. You see the late reaction by Hicks. He was kind of waiting, and then he breaks, and he broke a little bit late and gave him a cushion and made it a little bit easier. Nice design play there by Pep Hamilton and Shea Patterson to get that ball out quickly.
They get 8 on 3rd and 6. Play action again. Patterson took a peek downfield and now again will scramble and throws on the run. He underthrew a man, but coming back was Higdon to make a catch at the Wisconsin 40. He's lobbying for a catch, and they're conferring right now. It's ruled a catch. Take another look.
Ball underthrown. Pretty good effort by Ron Higdon. I think he did get his left wrist under there. The ball did not touch the turf. Heck of an athletic play there by the running back, who again improvised with the quarterback. He was just an outlet right in front of the linebacker and then saw his quarterback in trouble and started to take off.
Patterson 3 for 3. Higdon knocked down. Darting in there to make the tackle was Reggie Pearson, Kirk, one of those young safeties who has to step up with Dixon out.
Boy, he did not hesitate at all, coming up there and quickly making a play. Young player.
He really hasn't played. First action.
No, I was talking to Paul Christ on the field before the game, and I was talking to different numbers, safeties, and he said, then 7. I go, 7? He goes, yeah, true freshman. I said, well, he's probably had some mop-up duty. He looked at me, grinned, and he goes, no, tonight will be his first action.
His first action is a start in the big house.
Right.
Patterson from the pocket. Long throw. The catch is made by Oliver Martin. Really spreading the ball around early. Another first down.
And say what I'm seeing right now with Wisconsin, because of their secondary concerns, is the bend but don't break mentality. Playing zone, have some cushion, keep the ball in front of you. And the answer for Michigan is, if you're going to give me that cushion, we're going to play pitch and catch, and we'll take the 10 yards very quickly and step out of bounds for a first down to Oliver Martin. So that Wisconsin, if they're going to play keep it in front, let's not put our rookies in man-to-man. You get inside the red zone, you got to squeeze and hope to force a field goal. We got a new quarterback into the game, Joe Milton.
Yeah, he's a very talented young guy. Saw him in the warm-up slinging the ball around. A dual-threat quarterback, but the Badgers ready for that wrinkle. Not good for a yard loss. It's Conley again.
Yeah, and if they're ready for it, you wonder how many other people are ready for it. You would think about Dylan McCaffrey as a backup, but Joe Milton comes in at 6'5", 235, and as you see, his first snap of the season. So Jim Harbaugh and Pep Hamilton throwing a little curveball there, at least for a play, with Joe Milton. That drive is going pretty good with 2. It's going pretty good.
11th play of the drive coming up. You can outfox yourself, can't you? Badgers rush 4. Patterson gets it out quickly. And the catch is made by Gentry, the big 6'7" tight end, who's one of Patterson's best buddies on this team.
Yeah, and I don't. Not only is he probably a great guy, he's any quarterback's good buddy. It's 6'7". You talk about a catch radius. We had him last year in some games that we called with Michigan. He has come so far to become more of a complete tight end with his blocking, his route running. Jim Harbaugh said this week the one area he could just go to become an elite player is the yards after the catch.
Him here as a quarterback at Albuquerque.
Yeah.
3rd and 6. Higdon is the back. Patterson from the pocket. Had protection, now tries to escape, and he'll be tackled short of the marker. So the Badgers, a good job containing him as a runner. Eric Burrell, the safety, stopped him. It's 4th down.
Watch these, again, that formation where you end up getting 3 receivers over here, and you're going to find different route combination. Nico Collins gets downfield, but I want you to watch how well covered this is. I mean, this is about the 3rd or 4th time Shea Patterson, where are you going to go with the ball? They're doing a very good job of leveraging those receivers and taking away his options, forcing him to scramble.
Quinn Nordine, a reliable kicker, 8 of 9. He's just got a monster leg. This from 41. But he had a little bit of problems in warm-up. He was all over the place, and it's reflected in that miss as the Wolverines have a 13-play drive but come up empty.
Go back to that 1st down with Joe Milton coming into the game. You wonder if it affected the momentum and the rhythm of that drive.
Strong-legged kicker, but off the mark. And we're still scoreless in Ann Arbor.
Saturday Night Football on ABC is presented by Wells Fargo. Established 1852, re-established 2018. And in part by Domino's and Coca-Cola. Hot Domino's pizza and ice-cold Coca-Cola. Order this perfect combination for game day.
Jim Harbaugh's son-in-law there, his daughter giving birth, so he's a grandpa now. Talked to him about his 14-year career in the NFL. Paul Christ was his tight end coach when Harbaugh was a quarterback with the Chargers in those eventful Ryan Leaf years. So the Badgers fake it to Taylor. Hornibrook on the run delivers a strike, and it's a 1st down at the 35-yard line. That's Danny Davis.
Yeah, love this call here. Play action this way. Danny Davis going that way. Good job with an overly aggressive defense, trying to get them out of position. And that wasn't a lot of separation with Brendan Watson. That was just a great throw, an accurate throw on the run by the lefty Hornibrook that gives his receiver Davis a chance to go up and bring in the 1st down catch.
Bunch of tight ends in there, including a backup center, Jason Erdman, who wears 96 when he plays tight end. He's in the game. And they try to spring Taylor free. Nice little stutter step move at the line of scrimmage, and he darts forward for about 4 more.
And the thing about Jonathan Taylor, there was a time, I think, last couple weeks before he got into the Nebraska game, there was BYU, there was Iowa. He was just trying to make it happen instead of kind of letting the game come to him. Last year, he built a reputation for having incredible vision and patience, and then the light feet to be able to get out of some traffic and hit it and go the distance. Last week, he got back into that groove, and he's off to a very good start against this defense tonight.
He's got it again. Yeah, 2nd most yards after contact in the FBS, and you can see the strength. He's also able to take it the distance, too, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Boy, watching the trenches, you watch the inside, 63, Dieter. Look at that. Look how physical it's going to be at the line of scrimmage with this veteran offensive line pushing people around, some pancake blocks, but the vision there of Taylor and also the strength to be able to pull out of some arm tackles.
A guy that had instant success. His 2nd college game was a 200-yard game, yet he remains really humble and grounded and hungry. See the strength, and I'm going to show you his speed. This is the New Jersey 100-meter state championships. He grew up in Salem, New Jersey, down near Atlantic City. I don't want to say this is over before it starts, but watch Taylor. You'll spot him. We don't have to highlight him.
Yeah, that's right in the middle there.
Look at this.
That's a race for 2nd place.
It's not like Jersey's got a bunch of slow sprinters. I mean, that's impressive.
Getting out, especially for his size. He's up to over 220 pounds. One of the top tailbacks in all of college football.
Garrett Groshek, who got a scholarship, came there as a walk-on. Number 37 spells him now on 2nd and 9. fast-paced first quarter. Hornibrook from the pocket delivers complete across the middle. That's Jake Ferguson, the athletic tight end, who makes the catch.
Well, there's again Hornibrook's experience. He tries to squeeze one in. Watch the linebacker here as Jake Ferguson comes across. He's just reading the eyes of the quarterback, but Hornibrook, because he gets rid of it quickly, he's just able to sneak that in there by the linebacker Ross. And how about Jake Ferguson, the grandson of Barry Alvarez, getting just enough separation there to give Hornibrook a shot.
Yeah, I would say, my grandpa is a Wisconsin legend, but I'm making a name for myself.
Oh, this kid, swag. It's a freshman. Oh, he's got a big career.
They think it's a Taiwan deal. Hornibrook has lots of time and delivers inaccurately. Receiver Kyle Pennington, the tight end, was well covered there. So far, they've been able to keep the pass rush away from him.
Yeah, they have. You know, we came in, you know, of course Don Brown is going to turn loose this defense. Even without Rashawn Gary, you're still pretty confident that they can get after a quarterback. The guy to always watch when he drops back to throw is Chase Winovich, and also Khalid Hudson, 7.
A familiar complaint from Jim Harbaugh to the officials. He felt his guys were held on that last play. On 2nd and 10, it's Groshek on a delay, and the physical 213-pounder knocked down by Winovich, who says, I hope they run to my side every time tonight. They ran at him successfully last year.
And they pulled Michael Dieter, the guard, around, pulling from the left right there to the right, and give Winovich a lot of credit. He sat it right in there and handled a 300-pounder and then gets off of him and makes the play. That's what he wanted. He got it.
Yeah, he's got more run stops this year than any edge defender in college football. So if you want to run at him, he's ready for you. 3rd and 8. Final minute of the quarter. Here comes the pressure. Hornibrook escapes, but he will be slung down by Devin Bush for a short loss, and it's 4th down.
Boy, Dwumfor doesn't get picked up. It's a miscommunication. Vidadich right here, the center, and the left guard, Dieter, they just let Dwumfor come right through the middle. Nobody picks him up, and Alex Hornibrook, it's tough enough to deal with this defense, even when they are blocked. But that time, just a mix-up between the offensive guard and the center for Wisconsin's offense.
Dwumfor has to come sprinting off, and Michigan will spend a timeout rather than take a penalty as the Badgers' Lottie tries to pin Michigan back deep. 1 second in the first quarter. Taco Bell continues to celebrate student sections and passionate fans like these by awarding Best Student Section of the Year. Wolverine Student Section already on the national watch list. ESPN.com/Taco Bell to see how your school can compete. Maybe fall break, a 4-day weekend. A lot of Wolverine students may have taken wheels up home to celebrate, but plenty have turned up here.
Yeah, they sure have.
Peoples-Jones steps up and fakes the fair catch. The punt bounces and is down right there. So Wisconsin will take over to begin the second quarter at the 14-yard line. You like a fast-paced first quarter? You got it here. Scoreless in the Big House. Back after this. Word from your local ABC station. Except for the second quarter from the Big House. Michigan taking over from the 14. Long march in their first possession. Came up empty with a missed field goal. And it's a keeper for Patterson. And Patterson shows the speed in the clear. Midfield. Can they run him down? Shea Patterson knocked out inside the 5.
What a time to call this. You see pressure here. In collapses down. And a great read by Shea Patterson. They collapse down on the look to Chris Evans. Nobody's on the outside to contain him. They lose their way. You wonder with some of the inexperience if whether or not that may have affected the back end and their lack of run support. They were lucky to end up catching up to him and pushing him out of bounds. The progressive pylon cam shows he's out at about the 5.
81 yards for the quarterback. 1st and goal. Has he caught his breath yet? Give it to Higdon, who picks his way down to about the 2-yard line.
That's the part of Shea Patterson that I think all of us, when we heard that he was going to Michigan to run more of a pro style, we thought about, okay, you got the Pep Hamilton, Jim Harbaugh pro style, and then you throw in a little bit of Shea Patterson and his ability and his athletic ability and what he can do. Eventually, this is going to be a dangerous offense because of plays like that.
Really interesting hybrid attack they're using so far tonight. 2nd and goal. Higdon shifts around to the right now. Higdon finally did take the handoff after some hesitation and barrels into the end zone. But that drive all about the 81-yard run by the quarterback.
Well, anytime you see a quarterback and a running back with an exchange like that, that's a read where the quarterback and the running back are trying to read the same player. They're not quite on the same page. And eventually, Shea Patterson just let go of the ball and let the running back Higdon take it over.
6th touchdown for Higdon, who's added 15 pounds of muscle for runs like this.
And Patterson looks at the in man on the line of scrimmage. He's not sure, and then he just ends up giving it to Higdon and throws his shoulder in there for good measure.
Wolverines strike first, 7-0.
With DirecTV, more for your college football thing. We've seen 3 top 10 teams go down today. Another in some trouble. Number 6, West Virginia trailing Iowa State in Ames, and true freshman Brock Purdy to Charlie Kolar makes it 20-7 Cyclones in the second. Chris, Herbie, back to you.
Well, Cassidy, one of those days and nights in college football.
Oh my gosh, that's what you got to love about it. And we even talked this morning on game day the possibility of some letdowns, but not this.
It's contagious.
Yeah.
Jake Moody boots it deep. Actually not that deep. Cruikshank awkwardly fields it, puts a hand down, but keeps his knees off the ground and now weaves his way through the coverage team out near the 30. Celebrities, you look at Ken Griffey Jr., who had a chat with him earlier. I guess his son is a football player being offered here.
Being offered by Michigan. He already had an older son that went to Arizona. There's Blake Griffin, who plays with the Pistons. Big college football fan. Big OU, obviously, Sooners fan.
Yeah, he was a guest picker on College Game Day at the Red River rivalry, right?
It was when Lee Corso pulled the guns out down there.
Mr. Corso's pick on Game Day this morning of an upset by the Badgers. But it's Michigan and has jumped on top. Taylor, right side. Cannot escape the grasp there of Tyree Kinnell, the safety.
After that touchdown, you're going to see a Michigan defense, I think, play with even a different level of intensity and emotion. And these Badgers, this veteran group that's been on the road, and they've won every game on the road since they lost here 2 years ago. They have to rely on that experience to be able to kind of just weather this storm and rely on that experience to be able to get through this, because it's going to be a different, I think, intensity that they're facing here in this series.
Second and 5, Taylor again, and he muscles his way for a first down.
Look at him.
He's still going at the 45.
His leg drive, you showed his sprint in high school, and he does break away and hit some big plays, but I'll tell you that between the offensive line and his leg drive, you think you have him stopped for about a 2-yard gain. That was the initial contact. There's 5 more yards, 6 linemen are pushing him. He ends up getting 8 or 9 more yards after the initial contact.
3 Wolverines.
Yeah, he's carrying him. Then he, of course, gets a little assist there with the offensive lineman. Benshaw gave him a little push.
And the sophomore from Jersey's got it again. Taylor in the clear. Stiff arm of Metellus. It is driven out inside the 35 as the Badgers try to answer quickly.
Oh, the left side of this offensive line, Van Lennon, Dieter, watch the push that they get on that left side. You got a guard pulling around, the big tight end there that's in to play where an offensive lineman, Erdman, and then that natural ability with the vision to cut back, and then he's able to get valuable yards once he gets into that secondary. But give that offensive line a lot of credit on the left side for opening that up.
23 there by Taylor, who's averaging 7.3 so far tonight. He gets a breather. It's Tyron Deal, but it's an end around handoff to Kendrick Pryor, and he's sprinting around the edge and into the end zone. And the Road Warriors from Madison do answer quickly. 71 yards in 4 plays, 33 on the touchdown. Impressive.
Absolutely. Wisconsin with Paul Chryst uses this. Watch the block that ends up coming in from the left into the right. Nice crack block right there by the receiver, Jack Dunn. And then it's just the speed of Pryor. Michigan collapsing down because of those last few runs by Taylor, and they start to pinch. Great time by Paul Chryst to get the ball in the perimeter.
He's been somewhat effective in the jet sweep this year, but that's by far his best carry. Gallianoni knocks in the PAT. 4 running plays, and we're even at 7.
Saturday Night Football, presented by Wells Fargo on ABC, is brought to you by Pacific Life. Experience the power of Pacific. Nissan, innovation that excites. And Wendy's. Get Wendy's delivered right to your door with DoorDash. Enjoy no delivery fee during game day all season long.
Great tailgating weather today in Ann Arbor. And under the lights after scoreless 15 minutes, 2 quick strikes, 1 for each side, ignited on the ground. Wolverines, Kirk, only given up about 97 yards per game rushing. Badgers have 101 at this point already.
Yeah, that was, as you said, a heck of an answer. We just talked about how daunting it can be after an offense scores and your home crowd's going to get fired up. Michigan, different intensity on defense, and Wisconsin said, oh, yeah? We got a little different intensity with us, too. 4 plays, 71 yards later, touchdown.
Ambry Thomas is deep. He's got 1 kickoff return for a touchdown this year, but Zach Hintz rarely allows kick returns. Strong leg, typically hammers the ball into the end zone just like that. Big guys up front.
Go back to that touchdown again. The runs by Taylor sets this up. Great block right there by 16 Dunn, and then it's just the rest is just Michigan out of position, and then the speed of Pryor to get around the corner. But keep in mind, Dunn makes that block. He's 5'7", 172 pounds on a crack block, taking out the safety. But I think the reason it went all the way to the end zone, Chris, is because Michigan, they lost their eye discipline there, and Pryor took advantage of it.
But Ambry Thomas, a corner for Michigan, #1 in the game at receiver. He's at the bottom of the formation. Play clock at 3. Does Patterson see it? It's Thomas on the end around and try to get a speedy DB in there to make a play on offense, but the Badgers flush it out. Both little wrinkles so far have not yielded good results.
No, and that was just a great job by the defense pursuing and recognizing what you said. Anytime you see it, hey, what is the corner doing out there? Chances are he's either a decoy or he's going to get the football, and they saw as soon as he went into motion and got a chance to get his hands on the ball, that defense was flying up to help out and take that completely away. Good team pursuit.
Chris Evans, who has not been able to play in the first 3 conference games for Michigan, #12, is back healthy. They motion him out to the left. Patterson from the pocket against the 3-man rush delivers a low throw. Peoples-Jones couldn't come up with it. That's the first incompletion for the quarterback. It was 5 for 5 and had that 81-yard run to set up the touchdown.
I mean, he's really been in sync tonight. This offense has looked good in their first couple drives. We'll see what happens here on this 3rd down and long. See what Jimmy Leonard decides to do with the defense. If they bring pressure, or remember with the inexperience on the back end, maybe played a little bit more conservatively.
Jim Leonard, the former Wisconsin All-American, 10-year NFL veteran, in his 2nd year as defensive coordinator. They try some twists. They don't get near the quarterback, and Peoples-Jones doesn't get near the marker. Waving his finger saying, There's Harrell, the quarterback, stepping up tonight. It's 4th down.
That's a win there. Harrell gives him the cushion, which I think made Patterson think, hey, I've got a chance. You see how he ends up getting off of him, and because of that room, he throws the football out there. But the important thing for Harrell as a freshman is he makes that tackle after the reception. No yards after the catch.
Will Hart has had a tremendous start to the season punting for Michigan. He booms it deep to Jack Dunn, who tries to dart up the side sidelines. Pretty good return, and Wisconsin will be set up near the 40 when we come back. Deadlocked at 7, early second. Temperatures in the 40s as a Goodyear blimp provides aerial coverage above. And you put in the hours, the reps, and the heart. Nothing can keep you from being blimp-worthy. Goodyear, more driven. Reminder to stream college football all season on the ESPN Plus app. Start your free trial today by downloading it, ESPNplus.com. Maria Taylor reporting that Scott Nelson is watching the first half of this game in the locker room on the ESPN app. Apparently no TVs in there. Nelson, Detroit native, very eager to get out there in the second half.
Saw him in the pregame. He's definitely looking like he's ready to play some football.
The Badgers, after answering Michigan's score in the last drive, back to work, and they feed Taylor again, who just barrels ahead, continues to drive and drag tacklers up near midfield.
And I hope we're keeping a stat of yards after contact with this guy, because he gets hit again about a yard or two past the line of scrimmage. It gets at least another 5 or 6. And by the way, it's not like you break an arm tackle and then you pick up some yards. He's carrying people for 6 and 7 and 8 yards. This defense is allowed less than 100 yards a game. Right now, the offensive line and Taylor, that combo is off to a great start.
Got 9 on first down. Mishandled snap. Hornibrook turned to hand it off. Didn't have the ball. Had to jump on it. They lose 2. It'll be 3rd and 3.
Yeah, Chris, not only did he not have the ball, he lost the ball. Once it was on the ground, watch his eyes. He starts to look back behind him like, did it go behind me? I mean, he's lucky that he came back and located that ball before Devin Bush came close to getting on him.
Let's see if that play proves to be costly. They need 3 to keep the drive alive, and now the crowd, which has been pretty quiet, more of a reactive than proactive crowd, but they're trying to make some noise now. Groshek, usually in on 3rd down, to the left of the quarterback. Hornibrook pressure off the edge, and they've got him. And the ball that came out in that previous play on a 2nd and 1 ruined the momentum, and Josh Uche with his 3rd sack of the season.
And with Rashawn Gary down, Uche has become the best edge rusher along with Winovich. Just does a good job of disguising where the pressure's coming from. The offensive line goes, they call for a left call, moving that right tackle Edwards down. Nobody's there to pick up Uche. Give Don Brown an assist there for the confusion up front of the Wisconsin O-line.
19th sack of the season. 12 different Wolverines have a sack, but they've roughed the punter. Lottie got it away. Flags fly. Let's see if it's a personal foul. A 5-yard penalty would not give Wisconsin a first down. Dan Capron, he's the referee. Jordan Glasgow with the hair hanging out below the helmet. He's the guy that got in there on Lottie. There's a conversation about whether this is going to be the 5-yard or 15-yard variety, and it's crucial.
Yeah. Well, I saw him shaking his head no. Paul Chris asking the same question. They're going to decline it.
Running into the kicker. Defense number 29. The penalty is declined. First down.
So they'll take the result of the punt, and Michigan will take over at the 32. Midway 2nd quarter. Tied at 7.
With your Dr. Pepper Championship Drive update, back to Ames, and West Virginia gets a momentum swing. Kenny Bigelow blocks a field goal attempt, and Derek Pitts goes back the other way all the way. West Virginia now down 6 in the second. Chris Herbie, back to you.
Different look for the Cyclones. They're going all black tonight.
Yeah.
Wolverines from the 32. Chris Evans is the back. McCune, the tight end, motions to the right side. They're going to roll that direction, and it's a low throw caught by Nico Collins. He's wrestled down at the 41, just short of a first down.
They had a little bit of a different approach tonight against this Wisconsin defense. Remember going back to week 1 when they played Notre Dame. It was a rough night for this offense, only 58 yards rushing. Talked about in the open their identity. Look at these last 5 games, 228 on the ground. Pep Hamilton and crew decided to get more physical with Karan Higdon, and we so far have not seen that. It's been more of a spread attack and letting Shea Patterson throw the ball more.
Higdon hammers forward. They do move the change. Ryan Conley stopped him. Is that a concession to the skills of Patterson, or just trying to keep Badgers off balance?
I think it's a respect for the Wisconsin defensive front. Their defensive scheme is built where they have 3 down linemen that are all 300 pounds. Their job is to eat 2 blocks if they can, and then free up those linebackers against the run to make plays. So maybe they're trying to spread it out to eventually get back to the running game with Higdon.
See how Big Sunga Paulo, the 345-pounder from Pago Pago, American Samoa. Tough to move. Play action. Patterson takes a look downfield. Delivers to a wide-open receiver. And Nick Eubanks, the tight end, is down inside the 30. Badgers forgot about him.
Yeah, they sure did. I think Van Ginkel right out here, typically as a pass rusher, he's out in coverage and he gets confused. Right there, he decides to come up, and when he comes up, the ball goes right over top of him. Good read, good patience that time by Shea Patterson, and Michigan continuing to attack on the perimeter to get the ball into the hands of the receivers and tight ends. Patterson now 9 of 10.
They feel their tight end group as good as anybody in the country. You've seen Eubanks and Gentry feature. They've targeted McCune once. And then first down, knocked down Higdon after a short gain.
They are crowding that line too. And a lot of these offenses today in college football, Michigan is included. You know, the play could be called, and depending on the look of the defense, it could become a run or it could become a pass. And the style of defense Wisconsin plays may be giving Shea Patterson the look that we've got to try to attack more on the edges, and as opposed to trying to run into where all that traffic is.
Higdon split out wide to the left on 2nd and 9, and the Badgers try to close in. Patterson is quick to roll out. Preston Juke circles back and will be dropped right there. Sacked by T.J. Edwards, the leader of that Wisconsin defense.
Well, he is a veteran player, and I want you to look into the backdrop and try to look to see what Shea Patterson's saying. A lot of people who are covered. It would have been better, obviously, to just take this and cut your losses, either throw it away or try to scramble for a few yards if you can instead. That's the one downside of a creative quarterback. He never gives up on a play, and because he keeps fighting for it, sometimes it backfires, and Edwards comes up with a big one.
Yeah, he thought he could spin away from TJ. Did not happen. 3rd and 16. It's a slant. Catch made by Collins, who is hit hard and knocked down 5 yards short of the marker there by Burrell and Reggie Pearson, that newcomer to college football.
Yeah, how about him just coming out and having to make plays for this defense, and he's not shy at all. No, he's not. They're going to love how aggressive he is. We saw him up in the run, and then that time when Collins makes the pass, Michigan called that pass to set up to give their kicker Nordin a better chance here.
Yeah, this from 42. He was wide right from 41 earlier. Nordin, not the prettiest looking kick, but he got it through. His streak of 7 straight makes was snapped with that earlier miss, but he's put the Wolverines on top 10-7.
Yeah, with Nordin, you're never going to have to worry about the distance. It's just going to be about the accuracy.
The guy kicked a 55-yarder when he was in 8th grade.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. And you and I saw him on the field before the game from, like, was it 64 or 65?
About halfway up.
Yeah. So distance with 3, not an issue.
I think he's a guy that would like to drive like a 400 yards off the tee. If he makes a birdie, that's okay. But it's really about the big contact, right?
Yes. Yeah. Big leg.
7-play, 44-yard drive. Wolverines back on top by 3. Patterson continues to be really sharp. They haven't gone downfield for huge chunks yet, but he's 10 of 11 for 99 yards.
Great. Efficiency is what it's all about. Hasn't turned the ball over. You know, for Michigan over the last couple of years, everybody wants to get on Harbaugh in this offense. And reality is they've turned the ball over at the quarterback position. That's had a lot to do with why they haven't won some of these bigger games. And I think the greatest thing you can say about Shea Patterson is he's taking care of the football.
Crookshank. Let this one sail into the end zone, and they'll leave it there. taking care of the ball. And also, he's got more touchdown passes already, 10, than all the Michigan quarterbacks combined had a year ago.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, and you go back to what they did on the entire year last year. They had 14 turnovers just at that position.
Comes the duck and the bear. Chris Felica with our Affleck trivia question.
Jonathan Taylor last year, 132 rushing yards in the win over Michigan. It's a lot, but not the most against the Don Brown Michigan defense. I want to know for tonight's question, what running back has run for the most yards against Michigan since Don Brown became DC in 2016?
Saquon Barkley, I remember in the Wildcat package, had a big run for a touchdown.
Hard to come by. Play action on first down. Hornibrook lobs it into traffic, and it's picked off. Interception by Metellus, weaving his way inside the 15. And the Knights' first turnover goes to the Wolverines.
He's expecting man-to-man coverage by David Long. He got fooled by the coverage. Good job of disguising it by Long. 22, you'll see him off to the left. He's expecting Long to run with the receiver on the outside downfield. Instead, he comes off of him, and by coming off of him, he has a chance to make a play on the ball. It goes up in the air, and there's Metellus, a guy who has really been the catalyst for this defense in the first half of the season. The right place at the right time as a leader, comes up with that big interception. But give David Long a lot of credit there. Disguising coverage, breaking on the ball, and making that play to help Metellus get the pick.
Yeah, 31-yard return sets up Michigan in the red zone. And Ben Mason, the big 255-pound fullback. They fake it to him. Patterson took a peek, scrambles, and just heaves that out of bounds. Heavy pressure from Andrew Van Ginkel off the edge.
Yeah, that time he did just get rid of it. You know, that time, that's Wisconsin's best pass rusher, Van Ginkel, who's been nursing an ankle since that BYU game. Played a little bit against Iowa and Nebraska. They have been spoiled over the years with outside linebacker play and getting pressure by just rushing forth.
It's a good night for edge rushers with long blonde hair tonight.
Yeah.
Winovich on the other side.
Good call.
And Ginkel over here. Higdon is the back on 2nd and 10. And Karan's got it, but he's going absolutely nowhere. TJ Edwards imposing himself.
Boy, he is a good linebacker and has been just one of the more underrated players in the country. You know, what I love about him is he doesn't hesitate at all. He's right here. He steps up and is able to meet Karan Higdon before the tight end UConn had a chance to make a block at all.
He's a playmaker. A couple of sacks against Nebraska. Had the clinching pick against Iowa.
McCune, I should say.
So it's 3rd and 10. And Patterson for the end zone, lofts it. Tried to get it to Nico Collins. Jump ball with Rashad Wildgoose. And the Wolverines go 3 and out after the takeaway.
Yeah, he's got great size, and that's what makes him such a threat down in that area. It's a heck of a throw. Really good coverage by the young freshman, Wildgoose. Was able to separate that football for Nico Collins with that size.
He just hasn't played a lot of football. And Wildgoose sitting there making plays and a talented receiver.
Exactly.
Jim Leonard schooling up these young DBs. So Nordine again and slides this one through, and he's 2 for 3. But the Wolverines do not cash the takeaway in for 7, despite taking over in the red zone. This is the 3rd pick for Hornibrook of the season. Of course, he had 3 in what he called his worst game as a quarterback, including Pop Warner. His entire life was here 2 years ago.
That defense was experienced and outstanding. And his defense, that was his 2nd start of his career. And the game was moving very fast for him. He used that as a learning tool to become even better as a quarterback and obviously better on the road from that first game that he played here in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, it's a team that plays great complementary football. There's a case of the Badger defense stepping up big time, helping out the quarterback who, off that pick, they didn't pay for it with a touchdown. It's just a 6-point game, 3-11 before halftime, and a very quickly paced first half. Just 48 plays combined so far in this game. There's Jake Moody, and he drives the kick right to the goal line. Cruikshank will leave it right there. You guess.
I guess Saquon Barkley or Zeke Elliott. One of those two.
Affleck trivia question answered. The Bear is back.
We asked you for tonight's Affleck trivia question, which player has run for the most yards against Michigan since Don Brown became DC? Saquon had 108.69 on that run you were talking about. The answer, Dalvin Cook. $145 in that Orange Bowl win 2016 over Michigan.
Bear, you got the mood lighting going tonight, looks like, down in Anna.
Did you
hit the... stay warm. You got to stay warm in here.
Did you hit that pick 5? You were alive in the pick 5 today?
You won the first leg.
I did. We're all right.
Oh.
Really?
Great move tonight.
Not much.
Taylor, delay. Usually a pick 5 is pretty good.
Yeah, of all the favorites.
Now Taylor already 79 yards rushing in this first half. At 3 there. We'll try it out. And here comes Garrett Groshek. He took Taylor and Tywan Deal up to his lake house, northern Wisconsin. They went jet skiing. And Taylor was so excited that his buddy Groshek took him to get some homemade ice cream. He couldn't rave enough about the homemade ice cream in Wisconsin. Hornibrook on the run delivers a low throw in traffic. Taylor couldn't come up with it. It'll be 3rd and long.
And we're 2:30 left till half, and Alex Hornibrook has 3 completions in this football game. Only attempted 6 passes, so it's been a conservative approach by Paul Chryst, a patient approach. And again, you're down 6 and running the ball pretty well. You can't really blame him.
May face pressure again, Kirk. They have not yet converted. 0 for 3 on 3rd down. And he's been a very, very efficient passer on 3rd down coming into this game.
Remember, the pressure came from right here on the last 3rd down.
Wolverines, a flag before the snap. It's a false start. This is an offensive line that is rarely penalized.
Prior to the snap, false start. Offense, number 6, 5-yard penalty.
And that was Danny Davis, the receiver. So, mentioned the offensive line, really very disciplined, even in a tough road environment.
At the bottom of the screen right here, he just starts to move. You're right. They have been, and you know, not a whole lot of false starts. Crowd noise a factor. They're doing a good job. Very well-schooled team every week. You can always expect that from Paul Chryst's team.
You know, the first penalty assessed tonight backs him up. Now it's 3rd and 12. Hornibrook had to backpedal. They had a twist and a stunt going. Groshek couldn't get it. Didn't matter because Devin Bush was right there. Quiddy Pay got a hand on the ball.
Quiddy Pay not only got a hand on it, he read it and almost intercepted it. Watch him be able to feel this, sees the back come out, and right there he puts his right hand. He's known as a guy who can rush the quarterback, but really good job. Boy, he almost came up with an interception, which he could have walked into the end zone.
So Don Brown and that Michigan defense, they win the chess match, and they get the Badgers to go 3 and out. Now Peoples-Jones will try to give Michigan some field position before halftime, but he is driven back by Leidy to the 25. Escapes briefly. Peoples-Jones, a dangerous returner. And finally they catch up to him and knock him down, but the Wolverines will take over in plus territory. 2:09 before halftime. You get 26 yards on that return. You just hold your breath when number 9 is involved in special teams.
This becomes a more and more complete player. Not only as a wide receiver, but such a powerful punt returner. Has the speed, but also he can get through any kind of arm tackles.
It was a long punt, but not a lot of hang time. And so Peoples-Jones had a chance, and now Michigan has a chance to add to a 6-point lead before the break. Higdon hasn't yet got on track. Just 11 yards rushing on his 7 carries. They fake it to him, and Patterson looked downfield and now delivers a long throw, which is caught tight-roping as Peoples-Jones knocked out at the 30. Had to show his arm strength there.
But it also shows the offensive line giving him 4 or 5 seconds. All these routes downfield taking a long time. You can see how long it takes to develop. And Donovan Peoples-Jones, I think he almost started to give up, waiting for the quarterback to start to scramble. And an all-out effort there to try to knock that ball away by Burrell.
What a job to catch it.
The ball tipped.
Burrell's hand.
Yeah, right off of his hand.
Terrific concentration. 17-yard gain. Another play action on first down. Patterson scrambling, can't escape. Ball comes out. And the Wolverines fall on it. McCune, the tight end, grabs it way back at the 49. He carries the ball loosely, and the Badgers thought they could knock it out. Conley got it that time.
Yeah, and he comes on the blitz. He's able to just kind of get to the outside around Karan Higdon and give the rest of that defense, giving them an assist there because they kept him in the pocket, forced him out. And when he started to, he just had no idea that Conley was chasing him down with that speed.
Pep Hamilton said they've been working with Patterson on securing the ball better when he's scrambling around. He kind of holds it Manziel style. And now tries to make up for it with a run. It's a quarterback draw, and Conley will force him out.
Go back to the first game of the year, late in that ball game. His first chance to be the starting quarterback for Michigan, and much like what you're talking about,
would have been a game-winning drive.
Yeah,
stopped right there.
Trying to get something going there, and ball gets away from him, and that Notre Dame defense trying to actually swing at it. Ball just came out of his hand. But against Northwestern, it was something he said he learned from, tried to keep two hands on.
That surprised you? Before he took the field against Northwestern, he thought about that fumble.
Yeah, he did.
He made it mad, and he kind of made up for it with that game-winning drive against the Wildcats. But now it's 3rd and 18, 47 seconds to go, and Patterson delivers a short one, and knocked down after a very short gain.
And just trying to get a little closer for Nordine, who has plenty of leg.
And he's going to be tested because this is going to be a very long field goal attempt. We're not even sure where to put the field goal line because Mike Black, our spotter, charts the guys in warm-up. I mean, typically, unless it's this kind of a situation at the end of the half of the game, Harbaugh's not going to trot him out there for a 60-yarder, but he's certainly capable.
This is 53-yarder, and I think Nordine gets a little bit more amped up and more excited for these 50-yard field goals than he does the short ones.
And they'll let the play clock wind down, bring the offense off the field, and see if Nordine can make it a 9-point lead. I think the clock, although it shows 0-0, they got the timeout just before the end of the half. That would be a gaffe if they didn't. They'll put 3 seconds back on.
It's been one of those crazy years with Jim Harbaugh and officials. He probably thought, what now? I was trying to call a timeout.
That's interesting. First half, you talked about the new look Michigan offense catering to Patterson's skills. They've tried a couple wrinkles, not successful, but the quarterback with the Wolverines in this big home game in the conference has showed up in the first half well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a different attack. We talked a lot about how it's been more power football to set up play action, but because of the way Wisconsin defends, they've had to try to get the game outside on the perimeter a little bit more and let him run and throw, and it has been effective. I think with Wisconsin and Paul Chris, anxious to see what they do when they get in there at halftime, what kind of decisions they make as far as trying to tweak their game plan and giving Alex Hornibrook a few more chances to throw.
So Nordine, who missed his first one, has made his last two. This is just a yard short of his career long. Drives it, but hooks it.
You know, he has not had clean rotation on his kicks all night, even in warm-ups tonight. Mike Black, who, again, who's all over the kickers pregame and during the game, and we've seen that tonight. Even the kick he made, it had that same kind of rotation.
It's a new playing surface here. The old field was rock hard. They replaced it slightly spongier. You want to make excuses for the kicker. Well, Paul Chris team down by 6, and here he is with Maria Taylor.
All right, Coach, your defense forces the missed field goal to go back into the locker room. What have you seen from that unit that's dealing with injuries tonight?
I thought they've done a heck of a job of stepping up. You know, a good job after the interception, and I like the way they're playing. And obviously, you know, there's a lot of things we still clean up. We got to do a better job on our offense, pass protection. There's times we're getting the running game going. We just another good half of football. We got to come out ready to play.
What's the key to really getting Alex Hornibrook going through the air? What's the key to getting Alex Hornibrook going through the air in the second half?
Well, I can say anything. You know, you gotta get first downs and get a rhythm going on offense. And so, you know, like Alex, feel confident about him, and we just gotta help him out a little bit. And I think it's just by being able to move the ball and get first downs, so you kind of get a little rhythm going.
All right, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Badgers had the one scoring drive all on the ground, just 25 yards passing, but the Wolverines left a lot of points on the field and lead by only 6 at halftime. Kevin Negandhi, Mac Brown, Jonathan Vilma coming up at halftime right after these messages. Set for the second half. Saturday Night Football presented by Wells Fargo in this presentation of the Big Ten on ABC. Temperature down to 41 degrees. Slight breeze here in the big house. Wolverines will get the football first. But, Kirk, what do you expect from Paul Chryst? This passing game just hasn't gotten going at all so far tonight.
I think it's just as good a question could be what do you expect from the quarterback Alex Hornibrook, because 3 of 7 with 1 interception. And throughout Alex's career, it's been either really good Alex or really not so good Alex. Really not a whole lot in between. So I think they've got to do a better job of giving him some 1st and 10 play action. But Paul Chryst is going to rely still on Taylor in that running game. But he's got to get some yards and good decisions from Alex Hornibrook.
Hence boots it, and Embry Thomas says, yeah, I'm not going to worry about that, deep in the end zone. Now, Pacific Life game summary talks about what the Badgers have done here. Jonathan Taylor, it's been a steady diet. He's been pretty effective, the nation's leading rusher coming in. The touchdown run came from Pryor on an end around, and Wisconsin answered very quickly after Michigan's first touchdown.
That was
Shea Patterson.
A 4-play drive, 71 yards. They came right back. Shea Patterson tonight, 12 of 15, throwing the football. This was a huge run that got Michigan within striking distance before their touchdown. And you can see that he's had some open receivers and has had a good night throwing the football, but been surprised a bit, to be honest. We've not seen a little bit more physicality and more of the run game from Michigan.
Giving Patterson a lot of chances to throw on first down, and they try it again here. He's pressured and just heaves it. Conley, who's had a big game so far, came off the edge. Let's go to Maria Taylor down on the field.
Well, the focus is really simple for Michigan coming out of the locker room. Jim Harbaugh saying he told his team that they're going to have to stop the run after giving up 102 yards rushing to Wisconsin. And they also want to do a good job finishing drives. 5 of their 6 possessions ended in Wisconsin territory, but those 2 missed field goals, he said they're shooting themselves in the foot right now.
Left about 10 points on the field, Maria. And you see Scott Nelson, the starting freshman safety from Detroit, back in his home state, had to sit out the first half because of a targeting last week. He's going to come shot out of a cannon, you get the feeling tonight here. Higdon picks his way. You get a guy that back in his home state, Kirk, a young guy, had to sit out the first half. I mean, look out. He wants to make an impact right now.
It's been, I keep talking about their running game. This Scott Nelson is a physical safety, will come up, and, you know, he's a guy that knows this area very well from Detroit area, so he's fired up to be able to play here in Ann Arbor. But again, they're trying to run the ball. Pretty physical there with T.J. Edwards and that defensive line. Been impressed tonight overall with the Wisconsin secondary, with all their issues with not only the suspension in the first half of Nelson, but also with the corners with some injuries. They played very, very well.
Totally agree. Michigan 2 of 7 on third down, need 5 here, and Patterson will test one of those DBs, and diving attempt at an interception by Nelson. There's a flag down on the play. Tried to get it to Nico Collins.
Holding. Defense, number 5. 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. First down.
That's Rashad Wildgoose, one of those young guys at corner.
We just complimented how great they've been playing, and of course they get tested, and there's a hold right in front of you without a question. Grabbing a hold of Nico Collins the entire way down the ref. What a great view there from the ref cam. You could see he had seen enough. Got his flag out and made the call, and Wildgoose just holding on the best he could, hoping to get away with it.
Flag came flying well before the football got there. It was obvious. And now on the end around, Peoples-Jones gets a block on the edge, is knocked out, hard hit at the 45 by both linebackers, Conley and Edwards.
Such a disciplined defense. It's hard to trick them. Guys are typically right in the position that they need to be. Time Tyler Johnson tried to keep contained, but he could not. And Donovan Peoples-Jones does have some great speed. He's able to at least get some positive yards, even though Wisconsin looked like they might be in position.
This is the 3rd time Peoples-Jones has carried the football this year. This is Higdon. It's a receiving core. Remember, they had Kekoa Crawford transfer. Eddie McDoom, who was a big jet sweep guy, he transferred away. And Tariq Black, of course, the most talented receiver, broke a foot. He still hasn't played.
Yeah, hoping to see Tariq Black maybe in the next few weeks. Seems like he's recovering nicely. But you're right, Nico Collins and Donovan Peoples-Jones have kind of become the go-to receivers for Shea Patterson. And if you throw in the big tight end, Zach Gentry.
3rd and 1. Higdon. Knockdown ball comes flying out, and it's sitting there on the sidelines. Did the Badgers recover before? No, it's going to be ruled Michigan football. But Reggie Pearson, in his first football game in college, caused the fumble.
He comes up in run support. This is the first time he's played all year. He gets his helmet on the ball. Ball is up in the air. Keep in mind, Karan Higdon's one of the more physical backs in the Big Ten. But tonight, we've seen this freshman come in a number of times, getting involved and making plays against the run. Physical guy.
Ball just bounced there. Harrell had an idea about a scoop and score, but it just rolled over and touched the sidelines. There's a flag down on the punt. So we'll check that. Fair caught back at the 11-yard line. Flag back near the line of scrimmage. Very clean first half, but a couple of penalties early part of the 3rd quarter so far. They're maybe looking, Kirk, did they flatten the long snapper? Before he had a chance. They're trying to protect the long snappers. They obviously had their head down snapping the ball. You're not allowed to come over top of him and clock him.
Well, there was a lot of there's a big collision there at the middle of the line.
Both against the receiving team. Holding, number 27. That penalty is declined. Personal foul. Roughing the snapper by the defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Cameron Cheeseman, the long snapper, did get roughed. He's getting congratulated by his teammates for drawing the penalty. But this is the rule they put in to protect these snappers who are in vulnerable positions. And it's going to now give the Wolverines the football back in Wisconsin territory.
Well, Michigan catches a break right in the middle, obviously. Right here, you can see the collision. It's the call that they made. I don't know. Just a kind of a push where, Chris, I think you're right. I think he drew that penalty as much as the physical contact itself.
What a crucial call. Michigan now up 6. New set of downs from the Badger 41. They fake it to Higdon. Patterson still looking to take that downfield shot. Now throws into traffic. Almost intercepted. Threw it high. Wild Goose was in coverage, and Van Ginkel dropped way down there too.
Yeah, I mean, he has all day to throw, and the reason is they are not blitzing. They are sitting back in zone. They have a safety running with the big tight end, Zach Gentry, who he normally likes to go to. And that time, Shea Patterson taking a chance, and very fortunate that Andrew Van Ginkel did not come up with that interception. Went up in the air, had 2 hands on the ball, just not able to bring it down.
He's 6'4", 236, and he drops into coverage frequently and does it well. Higdon runs left, behind blocks. Come on, Higdon, in the clear, cuts it back. Down in the red zone, first down, Michigan. Finally, Higdon gets loose for a big run.
Yeah, Bredesen, the left guard, will make a nice block. You'll see the right guard also pulling around here, Owenu. Finally, they're able to, there's a nice cut back there. There's the big guard that's able to occupy Pearson as safety. And that's the Michigan offense that we've been seeing. So give them credit for coming up with some wrinkles, different formations, more of a spread approach tonight. But that time they went back to the old basics of Karan Higdon and that offensive line and picked up some good yardage.
You see there, 15 yards he netted in the first 10. Got 25 there. And Michigan, after that penalty and the roughing the snapper, gives them new life on this drive. And now Michigan will spend the first timeout to talk about it. Wolverines set up in the red zone, trying to add to a 6-point lead.
The Connors premieres Tuesday on ABC.
Tomorrow morning, 10 Eastern on ESPN. Kick off your week 6 of the NFL with Sunday NFL Countdown. All the breaking news, injury updates. Good all-access look. Jared Goff has got the Rams off to a 5-0 start. The former Cal Bear.
Rams and the Chiefs running some offense right now, aren't they?
Sure are. The guy Mahomes. Meanwhile, Wolverines now set up at the 16. Higdon, short game. Another look at the penalty call. Cameron Cheeseman is the long snapper. By rule, you got to give the long snapper a second to get his head up before you hit him. He's not really hit that violently. You think he sold it really well?
I think he sold it well. I think that's a gray area. I'm surprised they made the call.
And Cheeseman's over there pumped up. He's made an impact play.
Sure did.
Usually when you talk long snapper, it's because of a bad snap. Evans is the back to the right of Patterson. He's got the football, and Chris Evans, eager to make a big impact play tonight after missing the last 3 games, is spun down by Van Ginkel. Third down and about a yard.
Pep Hamilton, as the offensive coordinator here, has done a good job of mixing up the looks, but these last 3 or 4 plays decided to trust this offensive line really for the first time all night in the running game.
They failed on 6 straight third down attempts. Need a yard here. Evans still in the game. And it's a keeper. And Patterson stretches for the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan.
See if he got in. Nice zone read. He's been setting that up. He's been giving that a lot. He definitely stretches out to reach into the end zone. The progressive pylon cam is untouched. Knee is not touched. Ball crosses. They're playing easily for a touchdown. But the zone read, we've seen him give that and give that. And this time, Wisconsin collapsed down on with Van Ginkel, who he read. He pulls it out and picks up the touchdown.
Going to go for 2 here. Stretch it to a 14-point lead. Peoples-Jones in motion. They fake the jet sweep. Patterson rolls, looks for the end zone, and an easy pitch and catch to Nico Collins. And the Wolverines, in a drive that was prolonged by the Badger personal foul, stretch it to 14.
Yeah, this is exactly how you draw up a 2-pointer. Jet sweep motion, affects the eyes of the linebackers and safeties. He fakes that. Look at the backside with Nico Collins. Throws an absolute bullet right to him. 2-pointers good, and they're up by a couple touchdowns here in the third.
Saturday Night Football, presented by Wells Fargo on ABC, is brought to you by the new 2019 Ford Edge ST, the first SUV from Ford Performance. Burger King. Get 10 crispy chicken nuggets for just $1, only at Burger King. And Samsung QLED TV, the official TV of ESPN College Football.
Anthony Carter, former
AC back. You get Desmond Howard on the sideline, our buddy with his 2 sons, enjoying it so far.
Well, Anthony Carter was one of the wide receivers, late 70s, early 80s, who made wide receivers stylish with that jersey number and spatted.
It's a short kick, and the Badgers number 1. Cruikshank comes up at the 15-yard line and is knocked down after a short return. There's the touchdown run by Patterson.
Remember, it's 3rd and 1. You've got 9 guys in here thinking it's going to be a run to Chris Evans. What he does is he reads the defensive end, Van Ginkel, who collapses down and makes it easy to get to the outside. They're in man-to-man on the outside. You see, it looks like he may have hurt his hand when he got into the end zone. In fact, when he came off, he had a lot of blood coming off looked like the back of that left hand.
Wearing a glove on his throwing hand, which is unusual. No glove on the left, and they're working on that cut. Meanwhile, Hornibrook now and Wisconsin finally see the football here in the 3rd quarter, but they're down by 14. It's been a steady diet of Taylor. Down to Maria. What do you have, Maria?
Yeah, guys, I'm told that for Shea Patterson, it's a small cut that's on his hand, and they're working on it right now. But precautionary, we can see that everyone else is warming up here on the sideline.
A small cut. The athletic trainers, Maria, have a gift for understatement. That's a lot of, he's leaking some oil there out of that hand.
It's all hands on deck, making sure number 2's feeling okay. He's had a big night, 12 of 17. 8 runs for a touchdown.
See Dylan McCaffrey, Christian's younger brother, the backup here, checking out the situation.
Remember the last time the Badgers needed an answer, they went right down the field and scored.
They need one right now.
They do.
There's Garrett Groshek. He runs it out near the marker. It'll be 3rd and short. They still have not unleashed the passing game on early downs for Hornibrook.
Now, they talked about being patient in this game, and they sure as heck are being patient. 9 minutes to go.
Are they being too patient? Is it time to unleash them a little bit?
I think they're sticking to their plan. You know, I think their plan was to be able to be more balanced than they've been, but I also think that they feel like they're opening up some running lanes for these backs, especially Taylor.
Well, this is a very manageable 3rd down. Need just a yard, but there is some urgency here to try to answer and keep this drive going. Wolverines crowd the line, and it's a 1st down. Taylor's just hard to bring down with one defender.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, it's easy to say in this day and age, just, you're down 14, you better start throwing it and going crazy. I think you can stick to your guns with the running game, but also at the same time, if you find matchups, you got to throw the football, and you got to give Hornibrook a chance, which I'm sure Paul Chris is going to do.
Tyree Kennel, Wolverine safety, being looked at by the athletic trainers. Let's go to Cassidy Hubbard for an update on the health of Tua Tagovailoa for Alabama. Cassidy?
Yeah, Alabama in control against Missouri, but the Tide has suffered a scare. Tua Tagovailoa entered the game nursing a sprained knee and appears to aggravate it on this slide here in the 3rd. He went to the medical tent. His return to the game is questionable. This one on ESPN, guys.
Thanks, Cassidy. That was a concern coming in. It was a non-contact injury that he initially suffered.
Yeah, and talking to Mike Loxley, the offensive coordinator for Alabama, they weren't planning on running him, obviously. It's good to see Kennel is up. But, you know, he took off and scrambled there on his own. You could almost see right when he took off on that scramble, he started to have a little bit of a limp on his scramble. So hopefully he's okay. He's had such a big year.
Absolutely. You talk about the course of the college football playoff chase being altered if Tagovailoa is knocked out. Badgers with a couple of offensive linemen who are dressed in tight end numbers in this power formation. Another 1st down run into heavy traffic. Not much for Taylor. Still not giving Hornibrook a chance to throw on 1st down.
Yeah, I love what Paul Chris said to us this week. He said, you know, there's not going to be a whole lot of trickery in this game. You know, they do what they do, and we do what we do, and we've got to be able to execute. And I can understand, you know, 25 passing yards. I think you're eventually going to see Hornibrook start to make those throws, but I think he's picking his spots and doesn't want to go into panic mode here. We're still halfway to go in the 3rd quarter, which I think is...
I don't know if a 1st down throw qualifies as panic mode, though.
No, but to break away from your game plan would.
Here's a 2nd and long throw, and that's incomplete, trying to get the ball to A.J. Taylor. It's just not clicking tonight.
No, it's either Hornibrook makes a poor decision or a poor throw, or he makes a good throw, and the wide receivers can't hold on to the football. You know, he's got time. He squeezes it in. That's a tight window, getting the ball around Devin Bush. Taylor, it wasn't perfect, but still, you'd expect Taylor to be able to go down and make that play.
He's the guy that made a crucial 3rd quarter touchdown catch in the win over the Wolverines a year ago. And now, Wisconsin, 1 for 5 on 3rd down, needs 7. Hornibrook pressured and delivers incomplete. Turning and looking for a flag was Danny Davis. Brandon Watson, good coverage. And this time the Badgers cannot answer. Here comes the punt team.
Boy, Brandon Watson, not only was it good coverage, Chris, he looks like he's running the route. Watch him right here start to run in front of the receiver. He looks like he's out there running the route. He was so dialed in on that.
Got some excellent corners here. Brandon Watson's had a good year. David Long, they don't even challenge David Long. He just takes receivers right out of the game. So the Badgers still sitting there at 25 yards passing. And Lottie, deep boot, but it's too deep. and it's going to roll into the end zone for a touchback. So Shea Patterson will come back, and told he's going to have glove on both hands now. Back to work, up by a couple touchdowns. Maria Taylor got a close-up view of the treatment to Patterson's cut hand. What did you see, Maria?
Well, you could see that the cut was on top of his hand, almost in between his pinky and that second finger. And you could see the athletic training staff really wrapping it. So there's a lot of padding on right now. I also saw him take a little bit of glue on top of that cut. And so it's wrapped under the glove. He usually only wears one, but going with two now to protect that hand with the cut on it.
So the Wolverines trying to add to a 14-point lead, take over after the touchback. And this is Higdon, who runs left and breaks into a crease and gains 9.
And going back to running the football, you know, Shea Patterson, if you're just tuning in, has had a game where they played a little bit more on the edges, giving him a chance to be able to show his athletic ability. We've seen him create tonight. We've seen the athletic ability on a zone read, makes the right read, then has the speed to be able to get close to the end zone. And then that last possession, again, another zone read, reads Van Ginkel, and then gets into the end zone and scores that touchdown and has that, sustains that injury that Maria just filled you in on.
So he's an 81-yard run to set up a touchdown, and then a touchdown run to there. 12 for 17 passing. Higdon breaks free into the secondary and bangs out across the 45-yard line as the Wolverines start to wear down that Badger D.
Boy, this nice job of the right side, getting some good blocks, opening things up, and then you'll see 5 Wengler coming around to be able to pick up a kick-out block, and that opened it up. Nice job again. This offensive line, we thought it might be Wisconsin's offensive line start to assert themselves in the second half, but really it's been Michigan's.
First appearance in the backfield for True Wilson, the sophomore from Warren, Michigan. He's got it. And they say True whenever he gets a chance to make an impact play.
Another Wolverine, a little dinged up. Higdon now on the sideline.
He's been the rock. He's been the workhorse with Evans out injured the last 3. They're working on the right eye there.
Right eye.
And Dylan McCaffrey is now in the game, so the backup. No, excuse me, he's in the game, but not under center. Patterson.
He's at the left.
Yeah, they get a little trickery perhaps here. Now they're going to motion McCaffrey into the backfield. And it could be a double pass. Patterson looked that way, flips it back the other side. They were trying to draw Wisconsin's defense that way.
They fooled you and Blackie, but the only people they didn't fool was Wisconsin's defense.
Come on.
Just kidding you. No, but all that, they lined him up in the slot. They motioned him over. He did a clap. Did you hear the clap? He's doing everything he can to try to get the attention of Wisconsin, but they're in position. And Cron Higdon continues to get worked on that right eye.
So it's 3rd and long, and a lot of different wrinkles tonight for Michigan. None of them have been terribly productive, I have to say. Evans bunched to the far left of the formation. Patterson backpedaling, chased, and just has to throw it away. T.J. Edwards got near him again, and the Badgers force a punt.
When you go empty, this is the risk that you take, because if they're gonna blitz you, the ball's gonna have to get out quickly. And these routes right now, there's nowhere for him to go with that football. So empty means they're gonna blitz. Ball's got to go out quick on 3rd and 9. And Wisconsin with Jim Leonard brought the pressure.
Good talk with T.J. Edwards this week, who talked about his buddy Conley and the experienced middle, the rock of this defense, trying to help the younger guys step up, communicate, get ready for football at this level. They've done a good job. Long punt by Hart is driven out of bounds, and Wisconsin will take over at the 9. Curtis in the All-State bus here in A Squared, helping us keep up with all the mayhem. What's your All-State mayhem moment today, Kurt?
Well, the mayhem moment is the Oregon-Washington game. What a great game. Went back and forth into overtime. And C.J. Verdell and the Oregon Ducks and Austin get it done. Pretty much eliminate Washington's hopes of trying to stay in the playoff. And Oregon, meanwhile, keeps their hopes alive. But that is the mayhem moment on a moment or a day where there's been a lot of mayhem moments.
Ducks, of course, went down to Stanford in overtime earlier. They get the OT win. Huskies host Colorado next week. Taylor tries to bounce it. Good pursuit by the Wolverines. They knock him down after a 4-yard gain. Here's the other mayhem. LSU played with a ton of energy from the start. Georgia very sluggish to the first loss for the second-ranked Dogs. Michigan State came back. Lewerke leading a late touchdown drive as the Penn State team loses for the second time in the conference. That really changes his complexion here in the Big Ten East.
No doubt about that. And now you've got Iowa State and West Virginia. You have West Virginia undefeated, and they're also down in the fourth quarter. It's one of those Saturdays.
See Tyree Kinnell being looked at. And Wisconsin takes the football over. The defense did a good job getting a stop there to keep the deficit at 14. We are still waiting to see when Hornibrook, who's had a terrific start to the season, can get it going.
He hasn't had a completion since the second drive of the game. 6 straight incompletions. And I get that the running game is their identity, and they want to run, and they have a big line, and Jonathan Taylor. But even Paul Chris would tell you we've got to be able to, coming into tonight, I think we're going to have more completions than right now having 3, and the last one was in the second drive of the game.
When's the last time you've seen an offense that doesn't run the option like Army? 25 yards passing. 25 yards passing.
Yeah. And Hornibrook's, he's a 24-4 starting quarterback. He's been in some tough games throughout his career, and I think it's a combination of offensive line, protection, him being able to find the right receiver. The receiver's getting separation. But remember, Don Brown has a tendency to do this to teams. I mean, he is one of the best defensive minds in the country.
There's a concern for Kinley. He couldn't make it. He couldn't make it back to the bench. He's down outside the end zone with the athletic trainers. As the Badgers backed up, face a 2nd and 6.
Brad Hawkins comes in there for him.
Hawkins, a sophomore, hasn't played that much football. Taylor. And then Davis breaking free. Danny Davis shot out there, gets out across the 45-yard line.
Well, Michigan's going to bring blitzing. A lot of blitzing right here. He's going to come in motion, but watch the block in the background here, which was key. Right there in the top. Left tackle, actually, Van Lennon gets up on the defensive back that was running with Davis, who had him man-to-man. Very athletic play by a big 300-pound tackle to get up that far to block a safety running with Davis, and it freed him up to get a lot more yards.
Yeah, 37, the second big running play for a Badger wide receiver. End around again, and this is Pryor who scored in a similar play, but that time Brandon Watson wrestles him down after a yard and a half.
And very different defense. Instead of playing that man-to-man, that time they're in zone and Watson in position to make the play. But when you have success out there on the outside, it still allows them to go back to their bread and butter, which is being able to run into the interior of the Michigan defense.
To the Badgers with time bleeding away here in the third quarter. Desperate to cut into this 14-point deficit. Second and 8. Got to hurry. Just get it off. Roshek running behind a wall of blockers, wrestled out physically at the 42 by Watson. It'll be third down and about 2 or 3.
Roshek is a fun back to watch, a high school quarterback in his career. Senior year, he went over 2,500 yards as a running quarterback, and of course he fits in perfectly as a complement to Jonathan Taylor, 5'11" and about 220 pounds.
He's done some wildcat running at quarterback this year for the Badgers. Third and 3, but they have 2 plays to get it. Hornibrook drops back, delivers, incomplete. It's just not clicking. That was an inaccurate throw. Davis was open briefly, and now Chris is going to send out the punt team on 4th down.
The pressure got to him eventually, and in fact, as soon as he threw that football, he had pressure right in his face and probably affected the accuracy of the throw.
I know part of their success on the road is never to panic, to stay the course, but choosing to punt the ball from the Michigan 42 is sort of interesting. See if Lonnie can pin Michigan back. Kicks it with backspin. And it's going to land in the end zone. So not going to net very much, and they choose down 14 not to gamble. Aerial coverage provided by Goodyear from the end zone to the uprights. Nothing comes between hard work and a goal. Goodyear, more driven.
I think that tells you that Paul Chryst has confidence in his defense to try to be able to get the ball back, and he's following his book. Whatever his book says, that's what he's going to do. And down 14 with 2:24 to go in the third. Points are by the premium right now for his own offense.
Kennel has carted off as Hornibrook has a conversation with Paul Chryst, who of course does call the plays here. Just been one of the rough nights. He had the 3 picks here a couple of years ago, the game that he called a nightmare. It hasn't been that kind of a game. 1 pick, but so little productivity. Higdon tries to bounce it, breaks a tackle, gets a block, and Karan Higdon starting to get loose now as the Wolverines move to the 36.
Does a good job of staying in here and then bouncing it. He sets up the blocks by staying true and then gets to the outside with the vision. Brought the linebackers more into the middle, allowed his linemen to be able to get up to them, and then that cut, that quick acceleration to go with that physicality is what makes him so good.
Don't go on 4th down. Kick it into the end zone, and in one play, Michigan's got the ball right back where Wisconsin had it a minute ago. Higdon wrestled down after a short gain by Zach Bond inside of 2 minutes in the quarter.
Jim Harbaugh and Pep Hamilton, that 14-point lead. That offense that we saw most tonight, spread, shotgun, letting Shea Patterson do his thing, almost like a point guard. It's a very different approach these last couple series.
Harbaugh's not afraid to go to the 4-minute offense in the 3rd quarter, is he? But they're starting to win the battle up front now much better. Evans is the back. And he darts through the middle, knocked down by Van Ginkel. It'll be 3rd down. Only need a yard, though.
Starting to wear down that front 3. Remember, the best defensive lineman for Wisconsin, Loudermilk, is out with an ankle. And they really missed him.
Matt Henningsen, a walk-on, number 92, taking his place. And the Wolverines move the sticks. Chew on more clock. Evans has a 1st down. Don't have to run another play in the 3rd quarter.
And they won't.
So Michigan adds a touchdown and a 2-point conversion in the 3rd quarter. They will take a 2-touchdown lead to the final period here in the Big House under the lights as they try for a long-awaited around here quality win against a highly ranked opponent. The kind of game that has eluded the Wolverines often in recent years. Work to be done, but an impressive first 3 quarters by the Maize and Blue. Back after this message for the 4th quarter and a word from your local ABC station. Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Wells Fargo. And the Big House crowd swaying and singing a festive mood as the Wolverines have the football to begin the 4th quarter near midfield, already up by 14 points.
Different approach here in this second half. A lot more physicality and running the football. 15 carries, 104 yards, second half alone.
Yeah, and then in that 3rd quarter, 106 rushing, -1 passing. You don't see that often. Higdon cuts it back and into Wisconsin territory.
And a lot of that has to do with it, having a 14-point lead. We saw a more open approach, more Shea Patterson making decisions, as I said, on the perimeter. Karan Higdon finally getting on track. That offensive line led by Ed Warner, the new offensive line coach, up to 94 yards. Just doing a good job. We've seen him the last few times. Just give him a little crease. There's the vision. He pops that one to the outside. So 22, much like he has the last 2 weeks, coming alive here in this second half.
94 yards rushing. Higdon approaching the century mark. Can he get out of this carry? Cuts it back, and Higdon over 100 yards and deep into Badger territory.
Again, this is an example of what vision can do for a running back. This play is designed to go up into the middle. There's nowhere to go. He's able to bounce that, and again, how physical of a runner he is for somewhat of an undersized back. He pulls out of there and has that combination of vision, speed, and the physicality to go along with it. So instead of a gain of 1 or 2, picks up a first down.
Yeah, Reggie Pearson made a flying attempt at the tackle, and the trainer's looking at him. We'll take a break.
Cassidy Hubbard with your studio update. Iowa State in good position to make it 4 top 10 teams going down today. Brock Purdy to DeShante Jones. Purdy's 3rd TD pass of the day. Number 6 West Virginia trailing 28-14 in the 4th, Chris.
Talk about 4 top 10 teams going down, Kirk. You got to back to the history books. That is a rarity. See Pearson, who rolled both ankles in that previous play, being looked at by athletic trainers, and now it's a keeper. Patterson in the clear again. Slips the tackle, gets a nice block on the edge from Collins, and another first down.
And again, zone read all night. They've been running now here lately with Karan Higdon. So right here, the collapse by the defensive end, Bond, he has enough speed to be able to get outside of him. So even though Bond was hesitant, didn't quite commit down, he still knew that he had the leverage and the speed to get outside of him. Picks up a nice block.
Check out the sack yardage, well over 100 rushing. Patterson still a chance to join Karan Higdon as 100-yard rushers tonight against this Badger defense. And now it's Evans who picks his way for about a yard and a half. You feel like any points Michigan can get on this drive, and the Badgers, the way they're not throwing the ball, in deep trouble here.
Yeah, it's getting close to 13 minutes to go. And, you know, the one thing about this Michigan offense, it's a combination of a lot of different eyes and thoughts and backgrounds. You know about Jim Harbaugh, Pep Hamilton, Ed Warner, of course, who's come over. He spent a lot of time with Urban Meyer at Ohio State. So you see kind of a combination of a lot of different theories.
Higdon got a block there from Ben Mason, who just planted somebody, but good pursuit, not much there.
And go back to those coaches, even Jim McElwain, who was a head coach at Florida last year. You combine all those guys in an office, and when they're sitting trying to prepare an offense, and now you've got a quarterback that's used to being more of a dual threat guy. There's Jim McElwain to the far right, Pep Hamilton there in the middle. And so that's why you see such a variety and such a kind of so many different wrinkles like this right here.
Look at this. Yeah, you got 4 receivers bunched to the right. Empty backfield on 3rd and 9. Badgers showing a 4-man rush. Patterson gets it out very quickly. Evans has to slip a tackle and is going to be knocked down short of the first down. Hard hit by Burrell and Edwards. So here comes another field goal attempt.
And this will give them a chance, like you said, Chris, up 14 here. With the way Wisconsin has looked offensively, this could be potentially a knockout punch, make it 3-possession game.
Yeah, Wisconsin is not built for the quick strike, and on one of Alex Hornibrook's least productive nights ever, this would be big. But remember, Nordine has been a little unreliable tonight. He's missed 2 of them. And this one hooking, but it's through. So Michigan, with a 35-yard field goal, does stretch the lead to 17. Serious urgency now for Hornibrook and company.
Saturday Night Football on ABC is presented by Wells Fargo. Established 1852, reestablished 2018. In part by Pacific Life. Experience the power of Pacific. And Mazda, feel alive.
Hard to overstate how out of character this performance is for Alex Hornibrook. Go back to the last year and a half since the beginning of the 17 season. He is the highest passer rating of any Power 5 quarterback on the road. A game-winning drive at Iowa. Kirk, tough place to play. He's 5 of 5. Hits Taylor for the game-winning touchdown. And yeah, he had a nightmare here a couple of years ago, but this has surprised a lot of people. 3 of 10. You mentioned hasn't had a completion since
second drive of the game. Yeah. We're going to see he has 10 pass attempts right now. He may end up with over double of that after these next few series.
Quick shank from the goal line. And the Wolverines pen it in and knock him down at the 15. It's been a troubling night for the quarterback.
Yeah, he just hasn't been able to really settle in. He hasn't had a ton of opportunities, but when he has, you can see he's falling off. The balance isn't there. That affects his accuracy. Michigan, known as a team that can pressure a quarterback. Good job there by Dwumfor, and you can see he's just trying to stay alive. Then at other times, when his offensive line trying to give him time, Michigan still, even when they don't get the sack or the hurry, they still push the Wisconsin offensive line back into the face of Hornibrook, who you would think is going to have some urgency, a little bit more of an up-tempo approach, you would think, now down by 17.
Flyer in motion, and they start this drive with a running play and a gain out across the 20. He's a guy that shakes off mistakes very well. Mentioned it's his 29th start. Always working on mechanics. Works with our buddy George Whitfield. Has gone to San Diego. They go to Nashville every year. He's an incredibly hungry student of the game.
Oh, he is. He's cerebral with his approach. He's a guy that's always in the film room dissecting and trying to understand the defense, their tendencies. And that's what you'd expect from a guy who's been around for 3 years as a starter. Just has not been able to get on track tonight. And they just haven't really thrown the ball that much. Just 3 of 10.
2nd and 5. Taylor again. And he's going to be wrestled down. It's going to be 3rd and 2. And it's a must-make 3rd down conversion here to keep any hope alive. A methodical start to this drive, even though they're down 17. I know they don't panic, but maybe it's time to panic, Kirk. Maybe just put that finger on the panic button right about now. A little urgency, huh? Just saying. Brown trying to make it tough. Noisy on this must-make 3rd and 2.
I better hurry up.
You not want to burn a timeout here. If they're going to come back, they're going to need all of them. Play clock at 2. And it's a play action on 3rd and 2. Hornibrook dumps it up. Intercepted. Picked off by Lavert Hill. Pick 6, Wolverines. They'll get a flag for excessive celebration, but nobody here cares. Hill has stuck the dagger in Wisconsin with a pick 6. And a Michigan defense that has been outstanding on every drive except one has put this game away. Carlo Kemp pressure. They let him throw on 3rd and 2, and that misfired too.
Yeah, Carlo Kemp eventually got in there. I don't know what Alex Hornibrook was looking at. He had his tight end wide open there, bench wall, and he just waited and waited, and then eventually tries to go over top of Lavert Hill. Watch the tight end to our left. Shows a block, goes in the flat. He's wide open.
After the play was over.
He throws it late.
Unsportsmanlike conduct.
And Hill, to his credit, goes up and makes a play on the ball and walks into the end zone.
Unsportsmanlike conduct. Michigan, number 6. That's the first unsportsmanlike conduct foul on each of those players. A single 15-yard penalty will be assessed on the kickoff. We will have the trifle point.
Again, nobody cares about that because Michigan is now up 23 with the PAT coming. 3rd pick 6 of the season for Don Brown's defense. 3 different Wolverines. And for Hill, who was injured and missed last year's loss to Wisconsin, that was a sweet one.
Yeah, he was able to take advantage of the mistake there by Hornibrook, who just paused just a little bit too long. Had the open tight end, who, by the way, had nobody in front of him. If he throws that on time, tight end is running a long way.
And again, all the analytics. This guy, Hornibrook, the fewest negative plays of any Big Ten quarterback. Instead, tonight, 3 completions, 2 interceptions. That one by Hill, and the Wolverines are rolling. Aerial coverage brought to you by Goodyear. Keep pushing day in and day out on the field on tires you can trust to help you go the distance. Goodyear, more driven. Crowd here flying as high as the blimp tonight. Michigan to kick off, but now it's 31-7. They've added 18 points after halftime. The pick six by Hill, who took one to the house against Cincinnati last year. His first interception this season. And the line drive kick is fielded at the 30. It's going to run for about 15 yards there.
Go back to the touchdown, show you what I was talking about here. There's a lot of traffic for this Michigan defense to work around, tight end at the bottom, bench wall. If he throws it right now, and I know that you have pressure here from Carlo Kemp, but look in front of him. If he goes over top of Lavert Hill, there's nobody in front of bench wall. At the very least, he's able to pick up 20, 25, maybe even 30 yards. But instead, he waits. He's actually looking for his receiver going left to right. By the time he came back, Carlo Kemp was in his face and hit him, and that allowed Lavert Hill to make the play on the ball.
So the glaring exception, Hornibrook never lost a road start except once here at Michigan Stadium, and now he's got 5 interceptions combined in his 2 road starts in Ann Arbor. Groshek in the backfield there in 3rd down mode on 1st down. There's another incompletion. I mean, literally nothing is working. Jake Ferguson is a reliable tight end. He drops that one. And the quarterback comparison is our Pacific Life game summary. Sharp contrast tonight.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Hornibrook has not only struggled, this offense has just not been able to be very balanced. Meanwhile, Shea Patterson, 2 different approaches offensively. One where it was more open, more of a spread approach where he made a lot of plays with his feet. And then really in the second half, it's been more about the running game for Michigan.
Wolverine showing pressure. Groshek takes the handoff, spins free, and dives for 8 yards. Wisconsin is a team that just doesn't get blown out under Paul Chryst. You realize that going back even before he became head coach in 2011, only 2 teams have beaten Wisconsin by double digits. Ohio State and Alabama. And both those teams that beat them by double digits, or more than 10 points, I should say, went on to win national championships. This is a rarity. Groshek plowing. He's not going to get there. Stopped short on 3rd down as Chase Winovich was helped out, and now it's 4th down.
Yeah, great play by Winovich. This defense, we've been talking so much about Hornibrook, but love this attacking approach. See at the bottom, Winovich, the area that he's improved the most, using his hands, getting penetration, being involved in stopping the running game. Now he's taunting the Wisconsin sideline, saying, "Run at me, run at me." He wants it.
Now, they ran at him last year with some success, but old 15 with the flowing hair was ready for everything tonight. And Chryst choosing to punt now, down 24. Lottie just boots it away. That's a concession. And not even the punt works well. Hits and bounces back to the 32. Michigan back to work, trying to put the finishing touches on a satisfying rout tonight. Monday Night Football. Tess, Jason, Booger, Lisa, Packers, and Niners, Kirk. 2-2-1 for Green Bay. Urgency for this man. Maybe he can improve the mood of the Badger fans on Monday night.
I think typically he does. Doesn't he come through more often than not?
He does. Kind of a gloomy day, though. The Brewers were leading. Then the Dodgers came back and won 4-3. They evened the NLCS. This performance by the road team tonight. They need Rodgers to deliver a victory on Monday. It's True Wilson, young back, getting the turn as Michigan tries to just chew on this clock and get out of here with a very satisfying victory that would get them to 4-0 in the conference.
Yeah, this is Michigan. They needed a win like this up against a top 15 opponent. This program and really this team, after starting the year with a loss to Notre Dame, gone back to the drawing board. You got to give them a lot of credit now for 6 games since then. Team that's heading in a very, very different direction from that opener in South Bend.
You work on the play clock. Run it down, snap it at 5. And Wilson again bangs forward and gets within a yard. 4 Talked about the Michigan remaining schedule. Try to beat the teams that beat them last year. Michigan State, a team that's beaten them 8 of the last 10, and a team that's going to come off a big road win at Penn State.
I was going to say that's a different Michigan State team now as far as their confidence, and it's a rivalry game, and it's a game that Michigan's been pointing to because of some struggles in recent years with Jim Harbaugh. Penn State, same way. They get them here after a bye week, and of course the big one at the end of the year against Ohio State down in Columbus.
If the Wolverines can get all through that, perhaps a rematch with Wisconsin, which is still in the driver's seat in the Big Ten West in Indy. A third down play, and Wilson charges out near midfield. Fresh legs, hungry attitude for the young back. And the Wolverines can grind more clock now.
He is a fun guy to watch when he gets his hands on the ball. It's fun to hear this crowd react to every time 13 gets the ball. You can hear him yelling, "True."
Wolverine defense on the bench, but Maria will talk about her new friend Chase Winovich, who he was telling the Wisconsin offense, "Hey, come at me, bro." He was disappointed they didn't go for it in that 4th down after the last series.
He said he gets really creative with his homework. He's always talking, but he gets very creative with his research on the linemen he's going against or the quarterback. He'll look up their social media accounts and try to find some inside information.
I bet you he was jawing plenty tonight. He's had a lot to jaw about, Maria, hasn't he?
He absolutely has. And, you know, Chase Winovich, he's also the youngest of 4. And he said he's been fighting since basically he was born. I talked to his brother, Peter. He said he used to do things like climb a fence or challenge every single person in his family to a game of pickup. But, guys, really the story is Conor McGregor is one of his favorite individuals. And he said that that's the guy that inspired him to make that rise from being 7th on the depth chart as a tight end to a star defensive lineman at this point in time. He's spoken to Conor McGregor. He's met him in person. And now he says that he plays partially for McGregor.
Speaking of social media, Maria, he was harassing McGregor's opponent, Habib, so much that Habib blocked him on Twitter. I know you're a tough guy. Do not mess with that dude.
No, I wouldn't recommend that.
No, Habib got his buddy Conor to tap out in that fight, and it's the Wolverines who have gotten the Badgers. Who's just about tap out here. Hard to overstate how satisfying this is for the Michigan players, for the Michigan coaches, because Jim Harbaugh's not going to acknowledge it, but he hears the criticism, and the results are there to be scrutinized. They've been 2-8 against top 15 teams coming in, and this fan base and these players have been starving for a win like this.
I always go back to, if you really study those games could have gone either, most of those games could have gone either way. I know it's easy to just look at the number against some of those ranked opponents. This will be good to quiet some of those critics, but to me the reality is the quarterback position is different in 2018 than where they've been in recent years. It's solidified. It's going to only get better with Shea Patterson, and the combination of the offensive line, the running game, and his play action and ability to run and create, it's a different game this year.
See how well the defense has done. How much more difficult is Michigan to prepare for now, though, based on what in the last couple of years, based on his skills and the wrinkles we're seeing out here?
I mean, it's a combination of all those different coaches and the skill set of Shea Patterson, who looks like it's done for the night with McCaffrey coming in.
The backup from Colorado, and he keeps it, and he can run. McCaffrey, not quite Christian speed, but enough to score. And the Wolverines are pouring it on. A beatdown in the big house. 44 yards for the backup.
I mean, how about the bloodlines? I mean, McCaffrey. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I said he's not as fast as Christian because hardly anybody is.
I know, but
5? Come on.
I mean, he got out, and they told us he can go.
He had a 70-yard run call back.
Pep Hamilton said he can go, and we said, really? And he raised his eyebrows like, no, bro, for real.
Born to run.
He can go. He can go. I was like, all right. I hope we get to see it.
So we've seen an 81-yard run by Patterson to set up a touchdown. His backup comes in, and he gouts 44 for a touch.
McCune picks up a great block right there, and I love his instincts as a ball carrier. Just cuts right underneath that block, and then he outruns T.J. Edwards, and the big fella takes it into the end zone. Sweet.
First career rushing touchdown. They got a whole bunch of talent at the quarterback position on this Michigan roster at the moment.
Yeah, I mean,
for a change.
We saw Joe Milton come in earlier tonight, number 5, and this time it's Dylan McCaffrey. Of course, we talked about the bloodlines.
Yeah, David Simon's an Olympic silver medalist, sprinter. Ed, of course, with the Broncos.
Father, mother, maybe the best athlete of them all.
She had plenty of speed in the Stanford soccer team.
One of his brothers.
Played a receiver at Duke. I think you know about Christian.
Some guy named Christian who's a pretty good player. I mean, look at that.
Dylan, the baby of the family. Big future here. Who knows what Patterson will do? He's got another year of eligibility.
Good for him, man. Good for him to get a chance to come out here. That doesn't get a lot of opportunities, but 44 yards and a touchdown on the first play he's in.
They said that he's always been fast, but he's added a bunch of muscle. He's gotten much stronger, more durable as well. Later tonight, over on ESPN, after Top Rank Boxing, Sports Dinner, Max Bretos and Stan Verrett. Teddy Atlas and Stephen A. As only they can. We'll have post-fight breakdown of the Benavidez-Crawford bout. Implications of losses by Georgia, Washington, and Penn State in the top 10. Update on West Virginia. They have gone down to Iowa State. So an incredible day in college football. 4 of the top 8 are out. No longer unbeaten. Unbeaten Colorado in the Coliseum
tonight.
Yeah, about to kick off there.
You'll be dialed in. I'll be right with you.
Hornibrook, and what's been a nightmare is hit as he throws, and the ball just falls into the turf. He was pressured by our guy Winovich.
He finally got to him. We haven't seen him have many chances to be able to get after Hornibrook, but this time Hornibrook has to step up, and he's lucky to get that ball off before Winovich gets to him.
Kirk, we're still sitting there at 3 completions for 25 yards in this Badger passing game. 3. Wolverine showing pressure again. They don't bring it, and Hornibrook delivers high. Inaccurate throw. This is one of those nights, but he just has not been able to shake off the mistakes. And there is the carnage in the top 10. Losses by 2, 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah, this is one of those weeks where if you're in the AP or the coaches poll and you sit down and you start to put together your top 5, top 10, work your way down. It's tough.
UCF and Texas came close. They rallied to win. So you got to go back to November a couple of years ago, the last time this has been an upset-filled Saturday in the sport for the top 10.
Notre Dame did bring their A game, but just by surviving, maybe one of the biggest winners of the day.
True. Hornibrook in traffic, just throws it out of bounds. Incomplete on the far side for Groshek, and it's 4th down.
And Groshek went out of bounds. That's why you saw the official's hat come down.
For now, the offense is still on the field. Did not really see this coming. We knew about the ferocity of this Wolverine defense. We also knew that this quarterback and this team had been outstanding on the road. This is going to be just the 2nd loss for Paul Chryst away from home. Both of them will be here. 4th and 10. Wolverines rush 4. Hornibrook still pressured, looking for a man, and lofts it downfield into traffic, and the catch is made by Jake Ferguson in Michigan territory. Finally, the tight end able to make a play, and the 4th completion of the night. They just exceeded their passing yards for the night with that 136-yard completion.
Yeah, and it took everything that they had to come up with that completion, too. I thought we might see more of Ferguson matched up with undersized safeties, but, of course, that's not come to play. At least that time he comes up with a big catch there on 4th down, and we got a Michigan player down.
That's David Long, the excellent corner, who is rarely challenged and rarely gives up much of anything as a cover guy. Is one of the best ratios of completions per offensive pass attempts by the opponent. I didn't say that very clearly, but he locks guys out. He's a good cover corner.
Yes.
Kick off your week 6 in the NFL. 10 o'clock tomorrow morning on ESPN. Again, Sunday NFL Countdown with Samantha Ponder and the gang. Also go inside the Patriots locker room to get the story behind the "Aw yeah" mantra. It's capped off every New England win for more than a decade. 10 o'clock Eastern, ESPN. Jim Harbaugh and the man responsible for the headset cord takes his job seriously, and and he better do it well.
Coach Harbaugh got the cleats going tonight. See him in warm-up, you'd think he's definitely, at the very least, covering a kickoff.
He does wear those cleats around the office every day. Hornibrook from the pocket flips it off. Groshek cuts back, slips the tackle, spinning and still running hard and stretching near first down yardage inside the 30. Badger is still fighting, but a lot too little too late. Pressure again, escapes and lofts it down. Jump ball incomplete in the end zone. It was Pryor trying to get free of Ambry Thomas.
Thing is, when he has tried to break free, remember the style of defense that Michigan plays, they leave guys like Ambry Thomas and David Long, Lavert Hill, even the safeties, they leave them on islands, and their whole goal with his defense is to get to you before you can get separation from these wide receivers, from the defensive backs. Works not just tonight, works almost every week.
Wolverines trying to bring the pressure again in 3rd and 1. And a downfield shot is Pryor makes a nice catch down at the 2-yard line. He beat Hill that time.
And you know, Kendrick Pryor, only a sophomore, but does a good job. There's that man-to-man, that tight press man-to-man with Lavert Hill, but he does a good job of using his hands to be able to get separation at the last minute. You can see they're both kind of pushing and grabbing off of each other, and at the last second, Pryor gets away with just a little nudge to get that separation.
First and goal. Hornibrook across the middle and caught for a touchdown by A.J. Taylor. So beginning the drive with just 25 yards passing. He gets 75 yards passing in that possession. But as we said, way too little too late.
Yeah, that obviously this shows you what he can do. Those last 2 passes, I think we thought we might see more of that. It's really good coverage and back-to-back plays. And because of the accuracy of the throws, Wisconsin's able to come up with a couple big plays and, of course, the touchdown.
3rd touchdown reception for Taylor, who spends a lot of time with Hornibrook in the offseason. They went out to San Diego, went to Nashville, worked on their routes. And his preparation has paid off. Now they're going to go for 2. Play clock at 2. Hornibrook backpedals and throws short of the goal line and nowhere near the goal line as Pryor that time. So 38-13. And there's Don Brown, whose defense has done its job and then some. Disappointed to give up the touchdown there, though.
One of the great personalities in college football. You know, in his defense, since he has come into Ann Arbor and joined Jim Harbaugh, almost every year they're one of the top defenses. You look at all the stats: scoring defense, total defense, pass defense, sacks, tackles for a loss. But when you get a chance to sit down with him and talk football, I think he would sit and talk for 5 hours. I mean, he's got a ton of stories.
Oh, yeah.
And just a real character. You can see why the guys want to play for him.
No doubt. I think he talked baseball for 5 hours, too, if it was the Red Sox. Yeah. Don Brown can get in there and turn his attention on the Astros-Red Sox game. And Red Sox are down 3-2. And he is a diehard Red Sox fan. He even did some coaching.
Did he coach baseball?
Yeah, at Yale. He was like an interim head baseball coach at Yale. So
he's breaking down the series too. He's talking about the
stash there,
the different teams that he said we had, and you know they made a good little run there that season.
No, he was adamant that they had to get the win with Sale tonight going against the Astros against Verlander. But they're down 3-2 at the end of 6, and Don will. He'll find a way to get the score update when they get off the.
Look, he's going to love that. Interim head baseball coaching, yeah.
And also perhaps the coach of the top defense in the country.
Yeah, by the way. By the way.
Badgers have 2 different kickers out there to execute the onside kick. Hintz is out there. He's the regular kickoff guy. P.J. Rosowski also, and Michigan spotted that, so they're going to spend a timeout to get the hands team ready. Because after all, it is a 25-point game with 3:47 to go. ESPN's Basketball: A Love Story. unprecedented 20-hour film. You get more than 60 interconnected short stories. It continues tonight on ESPN, or Tuesday night, I should say, 7 Eastern. Episodes 3 and 4, all of them, of course, streaming live on the ESPN app as well. So when you put two different kickers out there, you try to deceive the hand team about the direction of the kickoff. Rusowski. Hence number 39 also there. So it's going to be Rusowski who boots it up, and it gets the kind of hop you look for, but Michigan will make the recovery. So the Wolverines have possession. And Nico Collins, the receiver on that hands team, got it. Going to make a pick on the Packers and the Niners on Monday night?
I can't ever go against the Packers. 49ers,
I put it on a T for them. They're 1-4.
If they were healthy, I think I'd like them, but I'm always going Aaron Rodgers. Plus, the Packers had that embarrassing loss last week. You know they're going to bounce back.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, it's a party here in the Big House. And it hasn't often been in these big games when the top opponents come in here, but the Wolverines have been really dominant tonight. They left a lot of points on the field in the first half, but this score could be worse than it is right now.
Yeah, and I think we touched on this a few minutes ago, but I think it's worth bringing up again. This Michigan program had so much build-up and hype after some tough games, individual games, big high-profile games. They get ready for their first game against Notre Dame, and they lay an egg. And even some of their own fans were frustrated with Jim Harbaugh, and give Jim Harbaugh and these coaches and players a lot of credit. Like I said, they kind of have reinvented their offense, and they continue to tweak it and find that identity that works. Think about the Jim Harbaugh Stanford days, right? I formation, big tight ends, 3 or 4 tight ends in the game. And now think about the offense that we watched tonight. It's still there, but it's not just that. No. It is a lot of spread. It's a lot of taking advantage of Shea Patterson, what he could bring to the table. But they still have that physicality. They still have that line, and they still want to run the ball. But it's just a combination. It's going to be a tough offense to get ready for.
And how about Patterson? We talked about growing up in Toledo. His dad, Sean, being a season ticket holder at Michigan, him coming here to games. And when Shea was a little kid, his dad would tell him a bedtime story, usually the same story. And it revolved around leading Michigan in a comeback here at the Big House. They would be way behind, all the quarterbacks knocked out of the game. Who would come in? Who could save the day? And Shea would always say, the Shea man can, Dad. And the story would always end the same way. Him coming into this place and leading a comeback victory. Now, you didn't need those kind of dramatics tonight. He was good from start to finish.
Yeah, he didn't need to come back. He got the message before the game started. They came out swinging.
Whole bunch of Michigan backups in the game. You saw Milton, who was in there earlier for a Wildcat snap. He's at quarterback now, and now you get Christian Turner, the freshman running back, with a carry there.
Talked to Pep Hamilton before the game, and I think all of us assume McCaffrey is the next guy, and he actually is jogging back into the game. But I think they're pretty confident Joe Milton is a guy that also can lead this offense. We saw him in like the second series of the game.
He was impressive in warm-ups.
Oh, yeah.
So McCaffrey back in there. Amari Samuels is the back. As even the Wolverine hardcore fans searching deep in the program. Did you think you'd see Wisconsin, Michigan with a bunch of guys getting their first action in mop-up duty? I did not.
No, they're just going to keep getting these guys as many reps as they can, just rotating quarterbacks along with other players.
Harbaugh is going to beat his good buddy Paul Chryst. We mentioned the tight end coach at the Chargers when Harbaugh was there. Considers him a professional friend. But for Chryst, it just wasn't there. He calls the plays. The offense could never get anything going with the passing game. Defense got worn down. And on the exchange, it's Turner dropped for a short loss. It's not a crippling loss for the Badgers' chances of getting to Indy, winning the West. They're still in the driver's seat. It's a non-divisional loss. The win at Iowa was huge. Figure Hornibrook's going to bounce back, but this one will sting a little bit. They flopped on a big stage.
Yeah, they did. They did. And because this is a veteran team, this is something where you're going to go back and get this team to be able to refocus and get ready to finish strong. You're right. The Big Ten West is Wisconsin's to lose, regardless of what happened tonight, even the loss to BYU. They could still get their goal, which is to get to Indianapolis and still try to win a Big Ten championship.
Milton in at quarterback, and he's dancing around, and Joe Milton shows the speed. Makes a man miss, and tightrope, still running. Every Michigan quarterback who runs the ball tonight just rips off huge gains. Now it's Milton's turn.
And I was going to say, they're sitting here working clock, but the quarterbacks are running. I don't know if McCaffrey was going to get a chance. This time it's Milton just freelancing. A play, again, designed to his left, picks up a few blocks. Doesn't go out of bounds. He's trying to do what McCaffrey did. He's trying to get that ball into the end zone.
Ball down at the 14-yard line now. This is almost like an old Steve Spurrier rotation. He comes out. And now McCaffrey, and finally it's going to be a victory formation. Look at that in the second half. He only had to throw the ball, Kirk, for 4 yards, 238 against this Badger defense. Cassidy Hubbard, the Ford wrap-up show. She'll take you through all the upsets of the top 10 teams today and this beatdown in the Big House.
And you got to believe, not only just a big win for Michigan, but with all the upsets today, you're filling out your top 10. How far up after this impressive performance does Michigan go? They might be up into the top 5 or 6 in the country.
Notre Dame, a big winner, of course, the only team that's beaten Michigan this year. 111,360 in the Big House witnessed a mugging as the Badgers, one of the great road teams in this sport, came in here and got manhandled. All smiles for Winovich. That Michigan defense was just tremendous. The by the way, touchdown conceded late, but they took it away twice. The pick six by Lavert Hill. They kept Taylor, the nation's leading rusher, in check. He rushed for 101, but it was on 17 carries. And the players with a kind of a mini, not a Lambeau leap, they just sit in the front row there with the students. Hail to the victors being sung. And Maria's got Winovich.
I knew you were a big deal. I didn't know. I was like going with a super celebrity.
All right,
You're officially on camera. You're official. You're on. You're live. So you guys might have missed it, but Chase was just dancing over here because he's excited his defense played so well. What inspired you guys to come out and have such a great game against Wisconsin tonight?
The same thing as every week. Honestly, just thinking of the boys and how they inspired us to come out here and play our best game. It really elevated, just the whole week. And we knew going into this game how big of a deal, playing at night in Michigan Stadium. And honestly, credit to the fans. The Big House was electric. The win was magical, and it was also historic. I can't remember the last time, people hung 38 and with a score deficit on these guys. Credit to the coaches and the players and the players before us. Before the game, we honor the offensive line for the work they've done. But today, we honor everybody, all the Michigan faithful. Yeah, so we're just working.
Coming into this game, you said that it was about revenge. The Wisconsin game would be, Michigan State would be about it, Penn State would be about it. So how does this start a role that you guys want to have here in October?
The revenge tour has officially commenced. I was actually thinking that as my next Instagram post at Winnow. I was going to, so that's going to be my caption, I think, because mentally that's what it's been. It's been that way since going back to January. So, like I said, we're a hungry team. When I came here, we went 5-7 my first year, and we bought into this vision of Michigan playing at the highest level and doing this on a week-to-week basis. And everybody else has bought into that vision, I think. And so we're like I said, we're just attacking this. We're hungry, and I can't wait for Michigan State next week.
Sure. Part of that vision includes your roommate, Shea Patterson. There you go. So tell me what it's like to see him out there having such a great game against a top 15 team as well.
What it's like seeing Shea? I mean, this, like I said, this is, what we talked. I mean, just having great quarterback play, and it's quarterback is kind of like an ecosystem in the sense that, having a great quarterback play.
I just want to know how your hair is so perfect right now. You just played a game.
It's all the product. All right, having great quarterback plays is indicative of having great offensive line and great wide receivers. So as great as Shea is, and he's moving great at a high level. You know, it's been everything. So,
Shea, what's working well for your offense right now? When you came here, you said you had to learn a lot about playing in this offense, but it seems to be clicking well. Where's the consistency coming from?
I think just getting better every single week. Just trusting in the game plan. We got a heck of a coaching staff, and the fans turned out tonight and gave us great home field advantage. But just getting the run game going and defense playing lights out, and our special teams putting us in good positions. And just trusting it.
Speaking of getting the run game going, 81 yards from you in the first quarter. Can you just take me back to that play when you turned the Jets on?
That was surprising to me. I didn't know it was going to open up like that. I got kind of nervous when I got about halfway through that run. I should have cut back to the middle of the field so I wouldn't get caught. But yeah, that was fun. That was a fun time.
Okay, what about your hand? We did see you get cut and you got it wrapped up. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. Feeling good. Just came around. He put his face mask in my knuckle and it just kind of was bleeding a little bit, but I'm fine.
And where does the Michigan offense build moving on? You have so many big games coming up in the Big Ten. What is the one to look forward to?
What game do I look forward to? The next one. That's how we've been approaching it all season since the Notre Dame game. Just taking each week, game by game, and just getting better every single week. And getting the run game going, the passing game going. Just honestly, just getting better as a whole.
Can you give me one comment on your guy Chase over here? This is your roommate, and he had a lot to say about you. But when you watch your Michigan defense, what's going through your head?
It's such an honor to be on this team with especially a defense like that. Coach Don Brown and getting all those guys right. But it's truly crazy watching 15 play. He has a high motor, and it's a lot of fun to be his teammate.
All right, I'll let you go celebrate with Chase. Enjoy the win.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Great stuff, Maria. I'm not sure a reporter was necessary or a microphone. I mean, Chase is just out there, high motor. He said, have you ever had a roommate who is just totally unlike you? I mean, Patterson's a pretty laid-back guy. And Chase is just incredible.
Yeah, I mean, this is a huge win. It's a team that's just getting better and better. And the exciting thing, if you're a Michigan fan, some of these teams that have made your seasons miserable, they're in front of you. You still have Michigan State. You still have Penn State. You still have Ohio State out there.
Cautionary word here. This is a euphoric win. You see how sweet and satisfying it is. Michigan State in East Lansing next week. You got to have that one. And they beat you 8 out of the last 10 years. So
That's right. That's right. And they're asking me to put the top 4 up. It's really hard to do after all the upsets. I'll tell you, I've got Alabama and Ohio State and Clemson, Notre Dame, who survived today. At 5, I'd probably put LSU after their win today and the way they looked against Georgia. 6, I'd probably have Michigan. So Michigan was at 12 this week. I don't know where the AP or the coaches poll have them. I would move them all the way up to the top 6.
So the one change in the top 4 is Georgia dropping out. It's really the teams 5 through 10 that are really going to be reshuffled. We'll see how far Georgia drops.
Yeah.
You come to Michigan, we're rolling.
Winovich still going over there. And now he's trying to recruit. He's stuck into the next wave of Wolverines. The current crop gets the job done in emphatic fashion, 38-13 over the Badgers in the Big House tonight. Tonight's game directed by Bill Bunnell, or produced by Bill Bunnell, directed by Derek Mobley here in his hometown tonight. We thank our entire talented crew for bringing you the pictures from Michigan Stadium tonight. Next week, ABC Saturday Night Football in West Lafayette. It's the Buckeyes and the Boilermakers. The Ford Wrap-Up Show right now with Cassidy Hubbard.